Hey, thanks for stopping by the podcast, everyone. Did you know that we actually upload the audio files of this to your typical podcast platforms like Spotify or Google Podcasts and what have you? So if you just want the audio of this, you can go over there and subscribe to that. And did you also know that we just kind of soft launched some basic merch over on our Stream Element store? So if you want to buy some Control Chaos inspired stuff, I'll link that in the description of this video. I'll let you get back to it. Peace.
Let's jam.
Podcast time! Oh,
Hey.
Lord, this is hour 6 of me sitting in front of a microphone. How about you guys?
Dang.
Uh,
I'm just fine.
well, to be fair, this is going to be like our fourth hour in VC after spending like 3 hours watching a Doctor Who story.
Jeez.
Oh.
But we at least had time to rest and relax before.
I apologize to Party Jams and Tyler for making you suffer through that.
That's fine.
I'm guessing it was a bad
Storyline.
episode.
It was an
No,
important.
it was just long.
It was important but long.
Ah. Well, that's a lot of Doctor Who from what I've heard. I'm a sci-fi person. I should sit down and watch more than like the 9th and 10th Doctor. It's just that old Doctor Who is just rough.
Well, yeah, my idea is that if you just can't get into like the overlong stories, I would say start with the third Doctor because that is like basically a soft reset for the series.
I'll try.
Also, you could always just watch later of the modern ones. Because I promise, like, the 12th is quite good and underrated, in my opinion.
I started with the 9th when I lived with Red, and we sat down with BritBox and tried to get into it, and there was some good stuff in there. It like good old fashioned cheese, but that's Doctor Who in general, really. But like it just was one of those things where like I feel like it's like Star Trek in a way where you got to just sit down and power through the shit to get to the good ones.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. We're skipping over the bad ones. Like the next two are the next one is filler, and then the one after that is just not very good. The one after that is one of my personal favorites.
Give me Doctor Who Kai.
Yeah. Well, give you Doctor Who Kai now.
Like that's like the way you could get me into Doctor Who is if you like Dragon Ball Z Kai'd it. Take all the filler, all the bullshit, all the terrible parts out of it, and then
Okay.
condensed it down.
I will try my best to find a way to condense it down.
Give me like a 25-hour edited series, Luke.
Oh god, that's impossible. That is legitimately impossible with.
Oh no, it's the same with like One Piece. Like, there's no way you can Kai One Piece, really. But that's not why we're here. Doctor Who's not why we're here.
No.
We're talking about wasted potential and all sorts of like very good topics today. And I really feel like we have one more recent wasted potential story that we've probably talked about a lot, and it's Time Paradox Ghost Rider.
Oh yeah. Like this was one that I was not. So just to give context to people, like basically got a lot of categories here, but it's going to boil down to what we think is overpraised for one story aspect, characters with wasted potential, and or plot points with wasted potential, and what we would have done differently, and also things we wish were revisited. So it's kind of like, yeah, go ahead.
So like, you've pitched this before to me, and it makes a lot of sense for like Time Paradox Ghost Rider. If they would have just taken the plagiarism aspect out of it, it would have done better. You know, if they would just made it like he's a ghostwriter for a deceased manga, like a mangaka, like you're just there writing the rest of their story, like a High School of the Dead situation, right? Like a lot of people want that story to continue.
But also as well, the actual deceased writer comes back as a ghost, so he's literally a writer for a ghost.
Right, and he's just kind of telling the rest of their story. Like that's a way they could have salvaged the series, and it would have lasted more than 30-some chapters.
Yeah, and it could have been revealed. Like he could have been like gone to the parents and be like, he could have known the girl. That's the thing. He could have been related to the girl as well. That and the parents could have been asked like, "Hey, you're a mangaka. You're struggling. Help us get our daughter's story published that never got a chance to be published."
Right. I need to move this nut button before I'm slapping it all day. Red left too many toys around.
Also, as well, I would have looked because then it could have been like a situation where they're arguing continuously about where to go with the story.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. Like there's so many angles they could take in the story, and it's one I really wish would have continued. Phantom Seer is another one, but like it was a good enough conclusion to the story that it didn't really feel overly unfulfilled. Like there was still some plot threads hanging on there, but it's a satisfying ending overall.
What? Because there's like a lot of theories about what happened with Fantasy. What do you guys think was the main issue with? Because I think my thing was that the author and artist were like wanted to do it, but Shueisha was like, nope, this is too much for even for us.
I don't think there's any such thing as too much for Shueisha anymore. Like, they have so many different magazines going on. They could have easily moved it to another magazine if they're like, this is too dark for this demographic, so let's move it over to Jump Plus. Because we've seen it, like, they have moved Ayakashi Triangle. So there's not a too much after that whole fiasco there, in my opinion, anyway. I think what it was doing was it was dipping too much into Jujutsu Kaisen near the anime. And they wanted to see that be their baby series, and it just unfortunately was a casualty of like, we want this series to be bigger, so we're going to end this one. And there could have been some like infighting with the publisher themselves, like, hey, we want to do this. No, we can't let you do this. In the main magazine, but they wanted the most sales possible. There could have been a lot of aspects to that, but it's still got an ending, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
Whereas Time Paradox Ghost Rider, it was universally panned because of the whole like fucking plagiarism aspect of things, and Japan's very keen on like no plagiarism. Where over here we have our Chat GPT writing our essays now.
Oh yeah. How much do you want to bet that some mangaka is gonna try to attempt something like that, like get an AI to write their story?
I kind of want to do it as a social experiment. I'm not gonna lie.
I do not like legitimately. Just speaking from personal experience here. Well, not personal, just something that I saw. For somebody was actually caught out using an AI to publish their story on Amazon, and they got their account deleted, and they tried to make a half-hearted apology saying like, oh, I can't write the story. I can come up with the idea, but I just can't write it. And I was just there like seeing that and just like,
well, you can have a lot of ideas in your head, but you can not know how to execute them properly. That's something I come up with a lot with, like, just coming up with content ideas.
Yeah, I get that aspect, but it's just like it was just their attitude, like their attitude of like, I want to write this story, I want to put it down on paper, I just can't do that. I'm like, can't or you won't.
Yeah, you're right on that aspect of it, right? Like, there's a lot of issues with that becoming super prevalent. I was talking with Red in the stream, like there was AI that is being used to detect AI writing, which is inherently funny because you have that bias of machine over human there. Whereas like a human can be like, hey, that's a little too concise for this particular person, where the AI is like, that looks good to me. That definitely wasn't one of us. Exterminate. But like, I just find it funny. I find the era we're in fascinating with that. Because on one hand, like, AI, horrible for the arts. But on the other hand, like, the techie in me finds it fascinating.
Oh yeah, it is fascinating, but
like,
it's turning it like he said in the stream. It's basically turning into Wall-E.
It is like it's funny because like this is my degree field, like cybersecurity. Having an AI to run like all my servers would be fucking hilariously simple, like deploy it, boom, it's there as my fucking wall garden. But at the same time, like it, getting it to write your story or draw your manga or do your art, it's like horrible for that. I feel like in 5 years we'll have manga tackling this very subject.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we tend to see the trends inside of our arts. So like recently we had Cypher Academy tackling shit like the crypto boom, but horribly executed. We've talked about that at length.
Yeah, I tried reading it because I figured like, oh, this might be good. It's like a bit like Death Note aspect of just figuring out puzzles and everything. But it turned into pretty much what Super Smartphone was.
Right.
Yeah, which that leads into my Super Smartphone had such a good concept, but was just absolutely wasted, in my honest opinion. I don't know about you, Pie Jams.
Yeah, so I guess number one, going back to Time Paradox Ghostwriter, I would like to point out that while your premise is great, it kind of eliminates the time travel aspect of the story, which I think is another thing the author wanted, but is probably what is the fundamental issue with that series, because when you have time travel, things get very tricky
Yeah.
very quickly.
Oh,
In
And
the words of
second,
Some Call Me Johnny, time travel is bullshit.
yeah, it is very much is, and that's why stories should have probably avoided, at least until the very end. Anyway, but I will also say for Cypher Academy, I think all the things with crypto and whatnot, like right now, that's like less of the focus, and it's more on the focus of deciphering codes and attempting to stop war. Like weirdly, the whole fortune buried in the school has not been the focus for a bit. It's just been the competitions among puzzling. And when the series focuses on that, it's still not that great because the puzzles make no sense. But the characters are really fun to watch. I was actually talking in a different Discord server about that with some people who were fans of Cypher, and like we kind of agree that what's good about the series is that the characters themselves are very fun to watch, and that the story itself is told in a different way because this mangaka is like experienced with light novels, so there's like a much grander narrative being told. And I will agree that there are aspects to it that are good, but I wouldn't be surprised if among the newer batch, this is the one that gets axed because it's almost too much nonsense for it to really be a story.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we actually got the volume rankings out for February, and surprisingly, something that I wasn't expecting. I mean, I knew it would rank low, but I didn't. But it ranked higher than I actually initially thought it would. Tokyo Bride, Tokyo Bride,
Tokyo Demon Brides.
Tokyo Demon Bride. It ranks higher than that. Ginkgo Gina, I think it's called.
Inka Gluna. And
Gluna.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's surprising, but I think both are honestly very close to being axed,
Yeah,
having kept up with both.
yeah, and I've kept up with Tokyo Demon Bride, and I like it. I like it a lot, but I just feel like it's just throwing every harem cliche at the wall to see what sticks, which is a waste. Which I would say is wasted potential because the main girl herself could be very very fun, very likable if they just focused on her and maybe one other girl, and that's it because a lot of people are like craving Rui Dragon, and we've got another girl here in a manga with that's harem sit. That's the heroine that has horns on her head. It's like have her for now. We need her for now.
No, honestly, right?
But
Yeah, I was just
I don't think she alone can carry the series, which is a major disappointment for me because I do really like her character and her design is pretty cute, and that's another thing that we need to talk about. Like series that are only good because of one aspect, which was something we me and you talked about, Fex, with Hunter x Hunter.
Oh boy.
And sorry to all the Hunter fans out there.
What about me? Right here.
Sorry, Pie Jams, but
Yeah, right here.
sorry, Pie Jams, and sorry, Tyler, but you have to admit, like, when people talk about like how good the Chimera Antark is in Hunter x Hunter, it's really just the latter half that they talk about.
I mean, that's just like one specific arc. You're talking about the whole series.
Yeah.
That definitely is the thing that people use as the linchpin for that series. So I do kind of agree with him there. Like, having one bomb arc, like one really good fucking arc, should not make a series a top 10. You need to have consistency. And Hunter x Hunter, I do feel, has more okay to good arcs than it has fantastic arcs. And even now, like, the Dark Continent shit is good, but it doesn't carry an entire story. Like, you have good pieces there throughout everything, but it's not enough to make it an immediate 10 out of 10, in my opinion. But it's treated like it's the pinnacle of story writing, and it's really not.
And Killua is treated as the pinnacle of characters. When I'm just like,
he's a good character, but he's
a good
not.
character, but he's not. I mean, he's badass. I will say that he's badass.
But
not
he's
taking
not Knuckle.
what?
Nothing.
He's not Knuckles.
He was referring to another character.
All right, he's not Knuckle. Yeah, Knuckle is a million times better than Killua. For one fact, animals love him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Shizuka, but I also like the mommy look she's got going on. But that says more about me as a person.
Shizuku.
That says more about me as a person than it does me as like anything else. But I do agree. Like, it is definitely a series that's carried by one phenomenal arc, and I hate to say it, but so is fucking Dragon Ball Z, people. Like, the Majin Buu saga or the Cell saga are the two that you hear people talk about. Like, one is like the peak of it, and then everything else is dog shit to them. But, and then Super, same way. People talk about the Tournament of Power. They don't talk about anything else in Dragon Ball Super. But it's still, like, one of the most popular franchises on the planet, you know? So, like, you have those. But for me, it's fucking Naruto. I'm sorry, but Naruto is not a good series.
Yeah, and for me, after pushing myself to kind of watch a little bit of it, I'm sorry, I just don't like Demon Slayer. I think it's just so generic.
It's starter pack.
I can get that.
Pardon?
I disagree, but I can understand where you're coming from.
I feel like my main issue with it is that we're supposed to feel sorry for Tanjiro for losing his family, but here's the thing: what do we know about the family? And I know this is kind of hypocritical for me being a Mission Yozakura fan,
but you at least know
Not
the
really.
legacy.
We know more.
You know more. Like, it's Demon Slayer, I get, is a lot of people's starter pack. You know, Dragon Ball was mine. Like, so I still have attachment to the Dragon Ball franchise. But I can objectively sit down and say that it's not a well-written story. And a lot of people don't want to come to terms with the fact that Demon Slayer is just a basic hero's journey slapped with some pretty animation.
Yep. Yep. Slapped with pretty animation. That's literally, like, people call episode 19 of Demon Slayer like, this is 10 out of 10 best anime episode ever, no contest.
Well, if your name is Tyler Blevins, then yes.
I was just there watching the episode thinking like, okay, when are we getting to the good bit? When are we getting to the good bit? When are we getting to the good... Oh, 2 minutes? Wait, 2 minutes? Is that it?
Mm-hmm. Like,
now, I will say, regardless of anything, the opening to the Red District Entertainment Arc anime opening is a killer opening. I will give Demon Slayer that.
It has a great soundtrack, but so does Black Clover, and the anime Black Clover was kind of mid.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I can't say anything because I have the guilty pleasure anime of fucking Sword Art Online. So my opinion here is completely invalid on what's good in quality to the internet anyway.
Well, we all have our guilty pleasures.
I'm looking at my reframed art across from me right now because I'm sitting like lounged. You'll see the promo tweet later when I log in. But like I'm reclined in my chair with the mic sitting on like my vocal mic stand right now because we were using it for the stream. And I'm just looking at the reframed art and I see like Fire Emblem, Sailor Moon, Mewtwo, a Ghostface print, and then down there in the bottom I have Dingy sitting on a piece of toast. And
does
fucking,
that toast have marmalade and jam on it?
He's kind of like animatedly, wishing shit up like he's the fucking genie from Aladdin. And then right next to that, I have a signed print from Kobayashi.
Okay. But yeah, we all have our guilty pleasures in terms of anime and manga. I'll say it now. I'll admit it. I'll hand my hand up. Mine is Promised Neverland. I've gone through the notions. I've come full circle sex effects, and yeah, it's not. It's you. Objectively, if I had to be forced to pick, I would pick Dr. Stone over Promised Neverland any day of the week. If I had to objectively pick, saying what series can you not live without?
Right.
Out of these two.
So I'm coming to terms with something else. Like, I have a lot of manga that I know I'm never going to read again. So, like, I was going through some of mine, and I'm like, what can I list to just sell? As, like, because I have completed sets of shit I know I'm never going to touch again, and I don't want to move them again. You know?
Yeah.
So, I'm like, I could probably part with my Promised Neverland set and be perfectly fine. To decrease the clutter, like, but yeah. I don't know, like, I have like a pending listing up on like Facebook Marketplace of like Promised Neverland and a couple of other retired series that I'm just like, there's a bunch of volumes here that somebody can start their collection with if they want to get into it, and I'd be like, yeah, those are good ones. I still plan on finishing my Naruto set because I do want that because I do have attachment to that franchise. I don't really have attachment to Promised Neverland, regardless if I reviewed it for the better part of the series. I don't really have attachment to it as a series,
and that's fine. I feel like looking back, my like not just the ending of Promised Neverland, because that could have been improved just by one little aspect, and I've mentioned it before. So I'm not going to repeat myself. But again, it's like what you and Red pointed out all those times. It's like there was too many characters.
100%. And I hate that for that series because it had a lot of promise, but like it is
ironic. Pun pretty much intended.
But it had one major flaw. Other than that, it was set up to be this mystery, right? This intriguing Death Note-esque style series in that first arc, like what's going on, and you got little bits of it throughout, but you didn't ever really fully explore like the alien culture. You didn't really explore like any of the demons. You didn't explore any of that shit. Like,
yeah, and I really honestly wish that there was more like that one character that was raised by a demon because they both had a disfigurement, and I really thought they would do more like that. Like some of the demons are like, actually we've grown a sentimental attachment to this human. We want to raise them in our culture, or vice versa. Like some.
Remember that one chapter we spent inside of a demon village?
Yeah, and I really wish there was like more to that. Like,
Right. We could have
we
learned
had,
about like the culture, their lifestyles. We could have learned so much more to have had some sort of attachment to the enemies in the series.
yeah, yeah, or maybe we, like I said, like we had more of a mix of cultures. So, like, even though, like, oh, demons eating the humans to survive. Like, hey, that doesn't mean we all of us have to be that way. We can all try to have some sort of peace and harmony.
Right. Like there's so much wasted potential in that series alone that saddens me because it was something that I really like at first. Like Red said, read up to this chapter, but let me know your reaction at the end of the first. Right? We had just come back from seeing, I think it was fucking Logan, um, and he's just like, you need to read this because it's such a good story. I started it like 3 or 4 days ago. And I'm like, wow, this first chapter really hooked me. You know, this the rose through the heart, and then realistically, after that first arc, nothing was like that. The rest of the
Yeah.
story.
Oh yeah, and I will admit, as much as I love the Promised Neverland, Ray should have died.
1,000%. Ray should have
Because when
died.
that happened, because this was around time I was like reviewing the first arc until it got taken until all the I had to take down all the videos because of copyright strikes. But when I saw that image, I was just like, spent 2 minutes just going around the place I was living in at the time, saying no, 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 no,
Dude.
no.
Right? Like
Yes.
that that hurts so bad. Like seeing him not die hurt so fucking bad. Cause he should have. He should have 100% died. Like it would have been such a better story if
Yeah.
he had died. And I know it's funny, you know, sitting here kind of arguing in favor of child murder, or child suicide in that case.
Well, it was context. He was basically giving a middle finger to the higher ups, like, no, I'm gonna go out the way I want to go out.
Lighting myself on fire, possibly the most painful death possible, but I don't want them to be able to use any part of me.
Yeah, but also as well, one thing that I really wish they had done, or at least confirmed, is you remember the guy who was locked up in the shelter that they found. Yeah, I honestly thought it was going to be revealed that him and Isabella were brother and sister, making him Ray's uncle, because he literally looked, sounded, and acted like an older Ray.
No, for sure. Like, I'm shocked that they didn't do that. But remember, that character doesn't exist, right?
What yeah,
character?
yeah. He got Thanos snapped by no. Let me do it properly. Like, but imagine if he got Thanos snapped by a studio who just couldn't be bothered giving us the context that was in the anime.
Oh, you're talking about Johnny.
Yeah, we're talking about Johnny, Hugo, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, for context, when I was first reading The Promised Neverland, I didn't know Yugo's name. I just called him Johnny because he looked like a Johnny.
Yeah,
he really did.
I will say, he had one of the better deaths in the series.
He had a fulfilling death.
I agree.
It's just a shame that the guy that he was trying to take out survived, only to get killed. I'm sorry for raging then.
You're good.
Yeah. But yeah, as well. But yeah, I feel like what I would have done different with Promised Neverland is, I mean, I would have still done everything up to Goldie Pond, and maybe up to Hugo and Lucas's deaths. But after that, I would have done something completely different, showcase more of the demon culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have worked.
I'll still stand by to this day that Goldie Pond is one of the better arcs in the series.
I disagree, but I know That'll be an argument for like an hour and a half.
That will be an argument till the end of time, because hey, at least we got a legitimate fight that's better than that's better in some manga that are being published today.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
But again, I can't. But again, that's me being a little bit hypocritical because I'm basing this whole arc on one aspect, the final fight.
But Lewis was such a great character too.
Yeah, and I was waiting for the moment because I knew he was going to come back because they showed all the bodies except for him. So I'm like, okay, he's definitely going to come back. And what does he do? Comes back just to be like, oh yeah, it's all a lie. It's all a lie. My brother's innocent. This girl who I used to call Muchika in the series, Demon Jesus. That is legitimately what I call it.
Demon Jesus.
That's basically what it felt like. Like her blood was like this holy sacred figure. She's like, drink this blood, you'll be fine. Kind of like it's the blood of Christ.
Eat the flesh. Not the children, though.
But yeah. And also, like I said, the ending. I really think Emma should have lost not just her memory of her family, but also the ability to see them.
That would have been a nice little touch, but we'll never get a Promised Neverland Brotherhood. So fuck it.
No.
I think that property's cursed at this point.
Yeah.
What I would say needs to be more praised, just to kind of veer off here, is I respect the fuck out of the animators that said, no, we don't want our names attached to this dog shit. You know?
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. That was a thing.
Like, I respect the balls of the animators because they could potentially get blacklisted for that, you know? Like, not wanting to be associated with the art that you produce. Like, that's such a like lack of pride in your work thing that they could be seen as negative in their culture. But over here, like, fuck yeah, that's based as fuck.
Yeah, and like I said before, I'm not going to be doing like a difference between the anime and manga for season 2 because I pretend that season does not exist, and I'm just like, there is no point in me. I was just so
it would have been
disappointed.
No. I kind of want that from you. But in the format of, like, the fall of Promised Neverland. Like, make it one of those super clickbaity titles.
I feel like that has been done to death. Like, I've seen a video that's already done that.
Of where it's just, like, dissect. I don't do AniTube. I feel like there's a point where, like, you stop viewing the type of content that you create. And because I've been such a part of, like, creating AniTube shit for so long that I've just strayed away from that side of YouTube entirely. And now that I'm doing gaming content, I find myself, like, less inclined to even watch that. So I'm watching, like, fucking video essays to where I'm, like, sitting down and, like, consuming, like, deep dives and shit like neuroscience and everything. It's weird. I don't know what the fuck my YouTube algorithm is going to look like in 5 years at this point, because it's already cursed. I got like 24-hour live feeds of like trail cams for my cats, and just the most random video essays is my front page now. Does little Hades want to watch the birdies on the screen? Please don't kill the TV. But also, please don't meow at the door while I'm streaming.
But yeah,
let's get back on topic here a little bit.
Yeah, let's get back on topic. Another one that I really wanted to talk about, like, gets overpraised, but this is something that I think Ann Arbor is been waiting for me to mention. Ruri Dragon.
I agree with you, right? Because it's 6 chapters right now, right?
Yeah.
I'm in the same ballpark as Ann Arbor. Like, I think it's one of the most wholesome things. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's a great series. But it's 6 chapters. It could shit the bed hardcore.
Yeah, like I did bring that up. Saying like it could Promise Neverland itself.
But that was a hell of a nose.
Yeah.
But I I do want to see. Oh my god. I do want to see it succeed, right? Like that's the
Oh
thing that I
yeah, for
want to see.
sure. I'm not disavowing anything that's happened with it. I do enjoy the series, but I feel like overpraising it at this point when it's only 6 chapters. I feel like okay, yeah, we need to take a step back, and I feel like if the mangaka hadn't gone on hiatus, it wouldn't have made as many it wouldn't have sold as well as it did.
Right? No, it's one of those things like the mysterious nature of the mangaka at this point kind of like the factor of like will it continue or will this be like a short series kind of thing kind of boosted the sales. I think we can all agree there. Um, but I do think that there is enough potential there for it to be a great series.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
don't think it's going to be a very long one though. I think it's going to be one of those series where it's like maybe 50 chapters, 60 chapters and then done. Because I don't think the mangaka was really up to task for making a weekly series and they realized it very early on.
Yeah, I really like like I mentioned to you before. I really think there should be like a trial session for Shonen Jump. Like you say, you publish the chapters on Jump Plus first, and if you are handling it well, and it's successful, you can get in the magazine then. Something along those lines, so that they're not having authors being like, oh, I can do this, and then when they actually do it, they're like, oh, actually I can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think like I'm trying to think of like there if there was a schedule that this author could make this a long series, but even then I don't think it's going to be one of those. Because I believe the only other thing that the Ruri Dragon author did before this was like promotional art and stuff. Judging by their Twitter, like it looks like they worked on a game maybe.
Yeah,
Um, and maybe did like character designs and shit for that, and then wanted to try their hands at this. And from the looks of it, it looks like it's like a Genshin clone kind of game from the artwork. But I feel dirty calling anything a Genshin clone because Jesus fucking Christ, gacha games have existed long before Genshin was a thing. But I don't foresee a schedule where this author could even commit to sitting down and making the series like a really long form thing. Because even like between their posts for like other shit, they were inconsistent and their scheduling or whatever for that. I don't know how much is lack of work for that kind of thing or how much was just like their own personal life and not wanting to put everything online. Like didn't want to be a chronically online person like we are. I'm trying to fix that and it's very hard. Uh, Uninstalling all your social media is a big help. But anyway, like that's it's a hard one, right? Because I fucking love the series, but I do agree it's very much one of those series where you just kind of have to realize that it's not necessarily going to be the next greatest thing, but it's a great deviation from what Shonen Jump has been here lately.
oh yeah, for sure. But of course, Ann Arbor being Ann Arbor, if anyone's
Oh,
ever seen
he
the
will sit down, he will stick his German foot down, and he will just bark at the moon.
yeah,
Uh,
anyone who's seen the Yu-Gi-Oh! Progression series will know that Ann Arbor, Mr. Luck Devil, he always likes to have his way.
even to our detriment. That's why we love him.
Yeah.
So, how about you, Party Champs? Like, I know you've got a couple here.
It was mostly just like letting you guys have this because I know you had like a lot of series prepped and still have more to go. So I'm fine with waiting, but I did just want to say quickly since you guys did bring up Hunter x Hunter like earlier in the discussion that it I can see if Chimera Ant is like what other people have told you is like what holds up the rest. I mean, I guess that's what happened, but to be honest with Hunter x Hunter, the things that I always hear and agree with is that it has like one of the best power systems in anime, which Nen pretty much is.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
then Heaven's Arena is like my personal favorite arc. It's not even Chimera, and it's also I think one of the best tournament arcs in anime. Although Yu Yu Hakusho's made by the same author is apparently better, which I will be reading at some point. And then on top of that, I will say that York New, I think, is more commonly considered one of the best arcs in the series, and I would agree that it's like at least on par, if not slightly better than Chimera Ant. So yeah, I think Hunter x Hunter has way more positive qualities. So I just wanted to get
Oh,
that out.
I agree. I agree. And like even like the arcs that like aren't considered to be on the level of stuff like York New, like Greed Island, for example,
Yeah,
I
it's one of the weaker ones,
still think
but it's
like
fun.
yeah, it's just a fun little arc. Traveling around in a video game.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah,
there's
more of a
plenty. There's plenty there to enjoy, but like it is the thing that has been touted as the the be all end all of them, and I disagree that it with it being like the best written thing on the planet, as the super fans will have you believe, because it's not. Like there is no such thing on this planet as a perfect arc. There is, because once there's a perfect arc, it would be the landmark for everything else. And you see that there's enough deviation throughout series, depending on like the demographic, what kind of show you're writing or series you're writing. But at the same time, like when you have the elitist attitude of the Hunter x Hunter fan also weighing it down, it's one of those things where you have to sit down and be like, okay, is this the super fan talking? Is this somebody that's objectively like a fan of fiction? Is it somebody that's like a fan of this style of content? Or is it just somebody talking out their ass because they think they're better than everybody else? A la Rick and Morty, you need 1,000 IQ to understand the series, kind of thing. And that's how a lot of Hunter x Hunter fans come off, and it makes it this like super pretentious series that kind of hinders its reputation amongst manga and anime fans too. And just my take, having had to deal with those types of fans.
I mean, you had to live with one.
Yes. I wasn't going to go there, but also yes.
Sorry, Red.
That's fair if that was your experience. I'm just like I
Love
feel
your
the need to defend the series. That's
Well,
Oh yeah.
Well, to be fair,
There
to
is
be
no
fair,
way in fucking hell Red is watching this video. I'm good.
Yeah, and to be fair, I've done just as much of overhyping Michino's Core for Red as he's probably done for
Right.
effect with Hunter x Hunter. So
Right.
I can't really say I can't
I've
really say
overhyped
anything.
my hero in the past, and
And
how that turned out.
I do it with Code Geass. You know, it's like your comfort series becomes the thing you push on everybody. And it's something we got to sit back and realize, like, maybe what I'm a fan of isn't what this person's a fan of. And maybe I should just take their taste into consideration.
Yeah.
And, you know, not try to push my politically mecha anime on them when they like, you know, beam fights in pretty colors. For example.
Yeah, that's fair. And the only reason I like tend to push Mission Yosako is because it's just so underrated.
And it's an easily accessible series as well.
Yeah, and also as well, Red said in one of the Chainsaw Man videos, like, I want more slice of life. I want more series with more slice of life for 5 straight chapters, and I was just there thinking, like, Mission Yosakura has you covered.
Right, but he also has this preconceived notion based on that first chapter, and once he sits down and it depends on like his mood. Having lived with him for 6 months and known him for Jesus Christ, like 7 years at this point, like once he sits down and consumes more than one chapter, when he gets in those moods, he'll open up a little bit more to it. But he also has the detrimental effect of like, everybody's talking about it, you know, me, you know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, he'll stubbornly sit there and not consume it until he's ready to consume it now.
Okay. but I feel like once he gets to particularly like the last
The Tom
arc,
Hoppo arc and shit.
and the whole Momo saga that's just wrapped up in the series. I feel like once he gets to Momo and how psychotic Momo is in the series,
Oh,
I feel like he'll
100%.
love
He's
it.
on some Hisoka shit, and he would eat that up, but he has to sit down and want to consume it. Like, I was that way with fucking... at Gretzko, for example, because everybody I knew was talking about Gretzko, and they're like, but your favorite animal is literally the red fucking panda. Why are you not watching the red panda Netflix show? I'm like, because all you fucking done for the last 6 months is that's been your entire personality. And I don't want to do... Once I sat down and watched it, it's like one of my favorite things ever. So, like, I'm the same way. But yeah, whoever wants to continue, I feel like I've been talking my ass off all day. So yeah.
Let's see. Something that's praised for one aspect.
I can throw one out there, though. I'm not sure how many of you guys saw this anime because I eventually dropped it. It's called Eminence in Shadow. Um, this was a funny series because originally one of my actually best friend, he watched the first episode, didn't really like it, but I heard from some YouTubers I watched that's going to be pretty good. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'll watch the episode. Yeah, first episode wasn't great, but the second episode where the story actually gets started. Short version, it's like just an isekai with like a main character who always wanted to be like super powerful or whatever, and now he gets to live that life, and he's super extra about it because the way he wants to do it is by being quote unquote eminence in shadow, where he gets to be that hero from behind the scenes, but on the surface looks like a total weakling. The comedy that really held it up for the first couple episodes, just the main character who's like broken is also just trying to act like a background character and is enjoying doing background character stuff. But what I realized watching the series through was that it was very repetitive in format, like most isekai, because the main character can solve most problems by being super strong, and all the girls in the harem series, even more so than most isekai, and you'll have to take my word for that because I watch a lot of this genre. The characters had like no writing other than they are super hot and are very good at this one specific thing that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so boring, and I had to drop it and even apologize to my best friend, and I told him you should get back into this series because yeah, it could get really bad. But I also saw that as the season was going on, I figured more people would drop it over time, but it still retained some level of popularity, and I don't understand why. There was like nothing redeeming other than hype moments and comedic moments from the main characters.
Oh yeah. So I'm going to get hate for what I'm about to say, but I feel like that's like 95% of the isekai genre at this point.
Yeah, I figured someone was going to say it. And you're not wrong to most extent. But the thing is, I feel like most isekai even
They don't take
don't even
themselves
have like the
overly
best.
serious. You know, they don't take
Yeah,
themselves
and this
overly
one didn't
serious.
either. But
But
the main characters usually suck. So at least here we had someone who kind of could carry a show for a little while, at
right.
least.
But like my biggest one is like when you started having like I turned myself into a vending machine in a dungeon, or I raised my skill level in cooking to save the village as plot lines, right? That's why I'm like, why the fuck does this exist? As an anime, like a fully like studio produced, not a fan project, but like big budget studio produced this shit, right? I'm just like my brother in Christ. This didn't need an adaptation. This is like a 25 chapter series, and you're throwing your whole studiocy into it. Okay, stop. I can't isekai anymore, and that was like one of my favorite genres for a very long time, but it's gotten so like beyond Sharknado levels of jumping the shark that it's ridiculous.
I mean, when you get to having cell phones in another world.
But that
I mean, okay, actually, since you brought that up, you guys are talking about guilty pleasures. Smartphone Another World is absolutely my guilty pleasure anime.
like that one's not even that bad. It's like the vending machine and the dude turning himself into like a microscopic being inside that so he could live in somebody's fucking cleavage. And I don't understand why this genre felt the need to turn everything into an isekai. Like, it's
There, I
stupid.
think the concept of traveling to another world is not uncommon in fiction. It's just that we ended up coming up with a formula that got overused. Because you think about series like Digimon, which I
Right.
know Luke wants to talk about later, that can be classified as an isekai to
It
some
is.
extent because
It
we
is
are,
an isekai.
Uh,
It is
it,
technically
yeah.
an isekai.
right. You have isekai like that, or isekai like King Arthur's Court. Who the fuck remembers that movie from the 90s?
Oh my god! Oh my god! The only way I remember that movie is from the Nostalgia Critic
But
review, and
that's technically an isekai.
just the notion of Daniel Craig being in that film, James Bond being in that film.
Right, but
Yeah,
like,
and Chronicles of Narnia is probably the classic.
right, but like you had heart in those. Now it feels like it's the printing company needs quick money. How do we make it? Oh, we do an isekai about a fly on a wall.
Or we do the only thing that's missing is like an isekai. No, actually, don't do that because that would ruin the franchise. I was going to say a Yu-Gi-Oh isekai. I was like, no, let's not do that.
Was it the fucking Millennium World or the one where they're inside the simulation, the mini arc in the anime? Wasn't that technically an isekai?
I don't. Oh wait, but then you have to consider Sword Art Online as an isekai.
Right, right. Sword Art Online
Doraemon
is
is an isekai.
Sword
only
Art Online
difference
is like
that
the
they go
the
back.
one that made it mainstream again. Like even though Dot Hack was first, Sword Art Online is the most popular version of that. I say
Then
that
we
as
got
I'm
stuff
going to
like
go.
ReZero and Konosuba and Rising of the Shield Hero.
I was gonna say just quickly there. Rising of the Shield Hero, I feel is the best isekai.
I say this as I'm going to the Sword Art Online Progressive movie 2 tomorrow at 4
Yeah.
o'clock.
Also, as well, there is one other isekai that you've missed out that I don't think anyone talks about anymore. The Familiar of Zero.
I forgot that fucking
Yeah,
existed.
that's a very classic one.
Yeah, I will say that is a guilty pleasure for me because I just can't. That people go on about the main heroine being absolute trash.
Would we
She is.
consider? Would we consider Reboot, the old CGI show? Would we consider that an isekai or no?
I think I know what you're talking about, and I think it does classify.
It's like from the
Because I
early
mean,
2000s. It was really crappy CGI. It got a reboot, ironically, and then canceled again here recently.
Do you want to know what what's funny?
What?
The Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise is technically an isekai.
Yeah,
to be fair with Sonic, Sonic X itself was an isekai.
yeah, that
So,
too,
so the point is that it's not like isekai. There's a lot of good in the genre. The problem is it just became too formulaic,
and
and
oversaturated.
so
Yeah.
what happens now because of that is, and to tie it back to our topic, is we have like every isekai trying to do one small thing different. Like on Manga Dex, I saw a new isekai that was posted called like Serial Killer in Another World or whatever, and I'm like, that's barely any different considering how much murder happens in these
But
things.
ReZero
But
in of
anyway,
itself. You
yeah,
have
right.
a
So
player killer
there's
guild in Sword Art Online.
Yep. And so because of this, like every single one of these series is, oh, I have this one thing that makes me different. And so that one thing, if it turns out to be good, is the one thing that gets praised for being good.
Like Rising of the Shield Hero having Billy Komet, R.I.P.
Is that like the VA?
That was the
Yeah.
dub VA for Naofumi
Naofumi.
in the first series, who tragically died in the same way that Chadwick Boseman died.
I see.
Like Chadwick Boseman also passed away of stage 4 colon cancer.
Yeah, he did.
Oh.
but yeah,
Well, we were talking about isekai. Do you want to get into your Digimon thing or my
yeah.
hero thing?
Since we brought up isekai, we might as well talk about one of the more popular isekai, Digimon. But I do like Digimon an awful lot, and I feel like at some point we'll probably have to go through Digimon as well as Yu-Gi-Oh at some point. Yeah, the one aspect that I feel could have been explored more would be the whole notion of digivolution, particularly in Adventure and Zero 2, because theoretically, and I was saying this to Pyjams earlier, you know how in Digimon they have the crests in season 1,
Yeah.
and they're all connected to an attribute of the main characters. Well, theoretically, couldn't the other characters use the power of those crests?
You would think.
Because it's like, yeah, Tai has the crest of courage because he's the most courageous out of them, but in all honesty, TK should be able to harness it because him and Kari at the end of it were the last ones standing against Piedmon.
Yeah, like you would think that that would be something that they would do, but I don't. I kind of liked the fact that they were limited to one person because then you kind of had the aspect of them kind of getting way too overpowered every time that they would go in.
Yeah, I do get that, but at the same time, Digimon at its core is just a marketing tool. So you'd figure that they would be like, we want to shout out as many Digimon as possible.
No, you're not wrong. Like that's the whole purpose there.
Yeah, and I think. I'm just gonna say, I think the biggest I'm trying to think of the word. I can't think of the word, but no, the biggest issue, or until I can find out the word, is the fact that realistically there should be more than the 8 crests.
Yeah, there probably
I
were.
pointed out there are.
Yeah, like well, actually, we have the crest of kindness with Ken in season 2. But also, shouldn't it be like the crest of bravery, which would be separate from courage, or the crest of loyalty?
They're the exact same thing, though.
Nope, they're completely different.
How? How?
They're not really, Luke. That was
I'm just trying to get more crests in. All right.
there's probably more crests with the other Digidestins we meet in Adventure too, but
yeah, but like the crest of loyalty, I would have thought that would have been one of the big ones, or the crest of like consideration.
That's what reliability is. Kind of.
Not really, because
I
reliability.
feel like loyalty can like go into like a lot of others. Like loyalty can like fit into friendship. Loyalty can fit into sincerity. Loyalty
Yeah,
can
but
fit into
when I'm talking about loyalty, it's just being like, no matter what happens, I'm always going to be here for you. Whereas like with friendship, you can have friendships, but there can be something that'll be like, yeah, I don't agree with you on that one. But I'm talking about like loyalty of just being like, I'm standing by you no matter what. Like how a perfect example. Raftalia would be the bearer of the crest of loyalty because she's so loyal to Naofumi in Rising of the Shield Hero.
I can see that, but I think like there would be other things that they could dive into with it. But I also think that it would be a very annoying marketing gimmick as well. I think I might be
handing out crests left and right. They wouldn't feel special.
Good point. That is actually a very good point. But okay,
But speaking of special things, let's sorry, go ahead, Luke.
I just want to bring up one more aspect about the Digimon evolution. Something that doesn't feel special at all, and that's the Digi Eggs in season 2. Because theoretically, and it's been canonically proven that any one of them can use the Digi Eggs once they come up,
Which they should have done. I want to see Vmon Digivolve with the Digi Egg of Love.
Yeah.
I want to see freaking Armadillomon, the best O2 Digimon, fight me.
Well, you want to know something about Armadillomon?
What?
Guess who voices him?
Who?
Welcome, Rangers! Perhaps you're wondering where you are. Well, you're in my domain.
Good old Lord Zed.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. I did not know that.
Yeah, Robert Axelrod voices not just Wizardmon in Digimon, but also Armadillomon.
So here's the thing, though. I think a lot of my issues with like the whole crest thing and the Digimon or the Digi thing comes from me being an adult now instead of being a kid, where I'm seeing the financial aspect of what it would be like to be a parent during the '90s with that. Having to buy all the crests and all the figures and all the toys of just these weird combinations for it. I feel like I'm turning into my dad today, and I hate it because I'm just like I don't want to
I
buy
hate it
the.
too.
I don't want to buy all the fucking toys right now. I need to save money, but I also
Okay.
am looking at like the fact that there's like 8 new Lightning Collection figures, but they're all in those ugly like fucking boxes where there's no plastic, so I can't see the paint quality of them. So as a Power
Okay.
Rangers fan, I'm hating the fact that now I won't know the quality control of what I'm buying as an adult.
All right, just to reiterate what Tyler was saying. All right, I've got on the Digimon wiki now, so they have all the Digimon that are like, okay, this is what the Digimon would evolve into with each Digi-Egg.
Oh God.
Oh, nice.
Why did
Oh,
we
Tyler,
see
you were
that
gonna
in
go
the
into
show?
Oh.
So there we go. I've put it in the mod VC text.
Oh.
But Tyler, what were you going to transition into?
When I said speaking of all fancy things, I was going to talk about the Digi Eggs.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, but also as well, I don't know if you noticed that once they got to certain Digivolutions, they technically stopped using the other ones. Like once they got to the DNA Digivolving, they pretty much stopped using Armor Evolution after that.
Gold Vidramon.
And also as well, apart from Tamers, why is it that it's only the two main characters, like the main character and the cool loner guy, who get the ultimate evolutions or the mega evolutions?
I mean, in Try, everyone gets megas.
Yeah, but that probably came out as like a cry from fans of like, why didn't they get the treatment? Why was it just Ty and Matt?
But I mean, that's exactly what you asked. So it can
Yeah.
be.
But it should have happened in adventure rather than in Try.
Maybe, but it still happened, so I can't be too upset.
It's the same issue I have with like Digimon Frontier, the fourth series, where they're all turning into the Digimon. It's like, why is it the two main characters that are the only one that get the mega evolutions? Why can't it be like the little kid with the ice powers that gets the mega evolution?
So I just put something cursed in the mod VC as well. Speaking of who we were talking about a few minutes ago in an isekai.
Oh my god, yeah. And you want to know what the worst part about this whole Digivolution thing is? That they actually addressed it in the show. They actually talked about it, but
Really?
it never went anywhere.
That's
Yeah, I think
actually
he means we're
insane.
at the very end.
Oh man.
So that's why I was thinking of like, why wasn't this explored more?
Oh.
Well, I know another thing you guys want to talk about with MHA, but before we do into that, I'll just give a quick thing with Dr. Stone, but I guess this is, I don't know who was watching all the way up to now, but thank you. But this will be, I guess, spoilers for the manga from here. So in Dr. Stone, like the big thing with the story is like Senku and his friends like reestablishing civilization. And of course, we were looking forward to the series doing just that. But by the time we got to the point where we're traveling the world, we kind of skipped a lot of the actual world
Yeah.
reestablishing to get right to the end game. Now, granted, I think that was done because, like, Inagaki had a very specific story he wanted to tell, and he wanted us to just confront the main antagonist and then just hand wave the rest because it wouldn't be as interesting for a Shonen Jump series. But I also think it's just such missed potential for the story that Dr. Stone was. I guess I should say.
Oh
'Cause it's
yeah,
over.
definitely. Again, much as I love Dr. Stone, I can't argue. I can't disagree with you on that one because that was something I was really looking for. Like you saw me getting really hyped when that happened. Like just be like,
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about all the places they could visit, the political arcs we could have had, like, just visiting England.
yeah, the, Inagaki Barichi, I loved you, but you can't tease me with England.
They
I
never
wanted
did. I
to-
think you were just.
I know. I'm just being a salty fanboy. But hey, if Shononoja can be salty about Byakuya being lower than Ginro in the popularity poll, then I could be about that.
Yeah, it's fair.
Can we think about for a second, like all the places that an extended manga of Dr. Stone could go? Like
Yeah,
even if we did
like-
like a sequel, like now we can travel
To do
through
a
space and
sequel,
time.
we'd have to start doing interplanetary travel,
Right.
effectively.
But I'd be perfectly cool with that if we get more Dr. Stone.
I mean, I would be too, but I also know some readers who, got what they needed from the series and feel like if they overextended it, because we did have that whole discussion last time about milking a series, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
almost like, we don't want to be too greedy with that.
And
Right.
I would feel like I'd be okay with it if it was like, okay, we're doing a sequel to Doctor Stone, but whereas in the first series, this was realistic science. In the sequel series, we're going straight up into sci-fi aspects. So it wouldn't be milking; it would just be like expanding on and giving us a fresh take on the concept, rather than just
But
doing the same thing over and over again.
Again, I don't think I would mind that, but I also want to say that's exactly what Naruto to Boruto did. It basically is like, what if we did ninjas, but now we have aliens and advanced technology to deal with? And I'm enjoying that, but I know a lot of people that are just not
Yeah.
with it.
I'm not enjoying the fact that we're fighting a goddamn dinosaur.
We're fighting a
Yeah,
dinosaur.
I don't know.
Man,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
they're fighting a dinosaur.
Sheriff of the End is doing that too. We got dinosaurs now.
Why? We escaped the dino love. Let's not bring it back. It's bad enough fucking Power Rangers did it for a fourth time.
But yeah, and also as well, I really wish they had done more with certain characters in Doctor Stone, because it seems like they only existed for one, aside from like the main six, I guess you could call them, like Senku, Kohaku, Gen, Chrome, Suika, and Ryusui. Aside from those guys, and Kazuki, because he was obviously the engineer. The others just existed for one aspect and then were kind of in the background, not really doing much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the series did a better job, at least up until maybe we finished the America arc, because like the Americans got like nothing basically
Yeah.
for like Stanley and Zeno, and yeah, and then Chelsea I think is like the biggest crime
Oh,
of that.
Oh yeah, Chelsea as well. And I love the fact that that was like a running thing with the Dr. Stone Controlled Chaos videos. Like, are Fex and Red gonna be able to pronounce Chelsea's name correctly?
Chelsea. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Well, to be fair,
I've-
you did mispronounce Francois' name.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I really wish they had gone to more places because again, if you're talking about computers, like China is a big one that you could have gone to.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a long place they could have gone to, but even then, the place they did go to, like Australia, we were just there for like a few chapters. But
Yes, and that again. It was a pain for me, and also with India, which Math City. If you look on the globe for in Dr. Stone, that's clearly not India. That I guarantee was meant to be England, but they changed it at the last minute.
still say you read the globe wrong, but we'll just agree to disagree on
Yeah,
that.
I guess we'll agree to disagree.
So what next?
Well, we still had
I think-
MHA, which was I figured.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I had just one other thing when it comes to a particular series, and that is Bleach. And I think you guys are probably going to know what it is because I've mentioned it so many times before. It's one of the biggest like issues I've had with Bleach for a while. Why give Ichigo siblings if they're not going to do anything?
World building, maybe. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
I mean, to be fair, I think Light also. I saw a funny tweet online about this because I found a Death Note meme, but like it was basically like, what if Light's family were more observant of his like quirky behaviors at home?
yeah,
And like one person commented, "I forgot he had a sister."
But yeah, you would have thought, like, just going off slightly topic before I get back into speech, you would have thought Light's family would have noticed, like, yeah, our son's acting really weird.
Yeah, that was the point of the meme. It was hilarious. Maybe actually, I'll go find it and send it.
Yeah, but yeah,
No.
Ichigo's sisters, like, what was, I mean, I guess the point was, but either way, Ishin could have filled this role of just, like, gaining Ichigo's powers at the beginning of the series. So, yeah, what was the point of having Ichigo have siblings who Karin was basically like, hey, she's going to grow up to be like Ichigo, not going to do anything with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and what really frustrates me is that they had the perfect opportunity to do that. Kubo had the perfect opportunity with the Fallbringer arc. And again, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever that Yuzu has so little spiritual pressure when she's the daughter of a Shinigami, a captain level Shinigami, and a Quincy.
Trying to think.
True.
Like,
I mean, again, it's just protagonist powers ultimately, but the fact that they did seem to set up the siblings to have more
right.
to do,
Yeah.
it feels like stuff got left on the cutting room floor, so to speak.
Yeah.
The bunts. But yeah, no, like I think we talked about the Bleach thing to death at this point, but I do agree. Like there was enough setup there that there should have been something expounded on. But it's just an unfortunate thing, right? Like you have so many ideas you have as an author or somebody in general, and sometimes they just kind of get filtered out for the sake of like time consumption. You have to think about like he was writing a chapter a week for fucking multiple years. I don't even want to do the math on how long Bleach actually was in the magazine.
It was 15 because it was a play on Ichigo's name being 15.
Ah, right. 15 years in the magazine.
That's actually cool.
15 years in the magazine, weekly, basically for the entire run of it. You have to be like, okay, what can be cut for time's sake so I can fit my funny joke in and also have my sanity and my life back as well, because you gotta think that is taxing on the brain, the body, everything. That like not every idea is going to be expounded on to the extent you originally had set it up for. So like this is just one of those like convenient like they don't need to have powers, they don't need to have all this. Just write it out of the plot basically and just go on to the next thing so you can speed things up. But it's something that like I really do wish it was, in there fully, because the sisters were some of the more interesting characters in the traditional story there, like the day-to-day story for everybody.
Yeah, and it's just weird because whenever we've had like a show, particularly a shonen series, whenever we've had like a main character have a brother or a sister, they do play a major role in the series. Like look at like Black Clover with Asta and Yuno.
Yeah.
I mean, and going back to look at Promised Neverland, Emma, Ray, and Norman being the main characters, and they're technically siblings.
Extended siblings, but yes.
Yeah, and same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! With Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds of like Yusei, Jack, and Crow being adopted siblings, but still siblings.
Right, like it's weird. It's very weird. And we don't even want to get into the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's manga either.
Oh my god.
Why?
Apparently it's like with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, where it specifically stated that Yusei, Jack, and Crow are not brothers.
Mm-hmm. It's a weird. So every Yu-Gi-Oh! Besides the original isn't adapted, right? They're their own stories. The mangas are. And they just diverge so much from the original path of the series that they're their own canon. Like, I love. Oh shit, Tyler.
Oh, I think they'll come. Tyler will come back in. But isn't in the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's manga, aren't the twins evil?
Yeah, sort of, kind of. They're manipulative for sure. I wouldn't know if I would classify them as like pure evil. I don't think there's anybody that's good or evil in the 5D story in general. I think they're all kind of like chaotic neutral. But so like for example, my favorite thing is like the Masked Hero deck in the GX manga. But you never touch on those or the Vision Heroes in the fucking anime. It's the same thing for like all the other series. They have their own decks, their own lore, their own stories. It's weird. I just started reading the Zexal manga because I had bought all the volumes because I wanted the numbers cards, but like I never really read them past like the first volume, I think. So I just started reading it. It's fucking batshit.
I am gonna have to sit myself down and read GX 5Ds. Basically, read all the manga.
Good luck finding anything after Arc 5.
Pardon?
Good luck finding any of the series after Arc 5.
Well, really, all that's after Arc 5 are Vrains, Sevens, and Go Rush.
The latter two don't have manga, and fucking Vrains is so hard to find, like a consistent translation. I think they started adding it to the Shonen Jump app. I'm not entirely sure, but like for the longest time, like finding a print volume of it was fucking impossible. I don't even know if print versions of it exist, to be honest. I think it's a lie. But like the what they're doing now, from what I've seen, is like the Madolche have their own manga. Like Archetypes are getting their own series now. Just insane to me.
That is insane to be thinking about.
I can't wait for us to get to the Jirac fucking archetype, since that seems to be the trend. Like everything needs a dinosaur, so just make a Jirac one.
I cannot wait until we get to GX that I can do the Ojama deck.
Can we just get a Dragon Maid manga? Another like the Dragon Maid archetype, because Jesus Christ, that is the horniest deck on the planet.
Well, if it's ready to Dragon Maid, then of course it's horny.
Right. Well, it makes sense, right?
That was a terrible joke. I apologize.
I'm staring at Kobayashi. Like my eyes are on Kobayashi right now, like 5 feet in front of me, and it's making me feel a certain way.
Yeah, that creator continue what they were doing.
Yeah, I
had.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I had a few quick ones. I just looked up like some stuff on my list. But before I go, Tyler, did you have anything?
Not related to the current subject matter, but I am ready to go off about my hero.
Okay, we can do that one because I think that the ones I have are just more personal ones that I can just kind of close off with.
Okay.
All right, my hero. The biggest one, because this would fall into like the category of like characters with wasted potential and plot lines that we wish were revisited. Well, kind of not the last one. It's more like plot lines that we wish were visited sooner. Spinner. And the entire like category of heteromorphs. The shit they went through, and like how we got some focus on Shoji and Koda and all that. That should have happened sooner. Because I think there's. But
I honestly think like if they explored like 75% of the plot of My Hero sooner, it would be a more coherent and better series.
Yeah, and also as well, like with so many other series, they have like this expansive cast, and they have like 20 what are supposed to be main characters of the series in Class 1A. Let's just focus on 6 of them to start with, and then let's shrink them down to 3. Like, literally, at this point in time, I have called My Hero Academia over the past 2 years the Todoroki Show.
Yeah.
And in the anime, it's pretty much what's happening too.
That is basically what it feels like. It feels like Deku has become a side character so much in his own story in favor of Todoroki that I'm like, is he even supposed to be? Is he even the main character anymore?
Shit.
Giving him the final fight.
Yeah, which they're gonna he's gonna drag that final fight out for as long as he can.
Yeah, probably. Which I will say, like with the newest chapter, like, and this probably reflects like my feelings on the series. When we saw, it was a really good chapter, but I also refuse to believe that this was the plan all along. No, I at some point he got the message. Oh, this is what my fans actually want to see. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly retcon this so we can get Shigaraki like back to himself because the OFA or One for All, or All for One, he's just so boring as an antagonist.
Oh,
But
100%.
Tyler, I do agree absolutely with your point about the heteromorphs because with Spinner, like Spinner was one of those characters they put so much sympathy in with the League of Villains, and the League of Villains were probably one of my favorite antagonist groups with like the MVA arc. And with that arc especially, like I loved how they expanded all the characters, but Spinners they hadn't done yet. But I figured they'll just do it later at some point. By the time we got to it, it just felt like such a footnote. And what's worse is it also incorporated classmates from that didn't get much story either. So it felt like this was a whole plot line that we were supposed to have an arc for that we didn't get. And it feels wrong to not do it because the whole arc is about it's like racism is not being acknowledged properly in our world. And I even from the beginning you can tell there were hints of it, but they didn't explore it enough. And the fact that it got ignored almost expungiates the problem. It's like, yeah, not even the story will explore the racist aspects of hero society.
yeah. It's a shame too because it would have made for a compelling story. It would have, like, One Piece and Fishman Island did this, and I don't care what people say. Fishman Island's one of my favorite arcs in fucking One Piece. I think it's fucking fantastic.
Tying this into sorry, go ahead.
I was just about to say, Jinbei's like big backstory revolves around the racism and all the shit that the fishmen have gotten over the years with Fisher Tiger.
Yeah, and also it's like back and forth. Like they were discriminated against, so they were discriminated against humans, which in turn went back to discrimination again. It was like a back and forth cycle of never-ending discrimination.
And that's pretty much what happened in Attack on Titan. That's the central plot line. So, what I was gonna say before was that another superhero anime, Tiger and Bunny, which I do recommend for anyone who hasn't seen it. Its story in its second season that recently ended, and how it kind of connects to what MHA could have done, is that it showed that for certain superhumans in society, some powers are just more useful than others, which MHA also tackled upon. But in the case of racial discrimination, it kind of shows that like they could have easily said that some of the heteromorphs who had like abilities but just weren't suited to be heroes were looked less upon compared to like heteromorphs whose abilities are useful. Because at that point, you're saying it's like, oh, you can be different as long as you are useful to society, which is like a whole other aspect to like even just real world racism. Because I get partially speaking as a person of color here, like certain groups of people tend to get a little bit more favored because they are seen as useful to society, and in that sense, they're kind of seen as what's the phrase? I think prized, not a prized race, but like a trophy. Now, target, like a base model. That's it, model race, and that's like a whole other problem in and of itself. Like when you're seen as, oh, this is the ideal kind of group to be, you should be like them because they are providing use to society. But at that point, your value and your worth is based on, in this case, the traits you were born with. And that's a whole problem. I think that would have been great to explore in MHA, but they didn't. And other heroes shows have. So
Yeah, and another thing that is the biggest issue that I really wish was explored in My Hero Academia is the whole notion of we were talking about this before the modcast. Like, you can only become a hero if you go to hero school to get your hero license, really yeah, which really that should not be a factor, because even in the real world there are ways to get to become like a professional you want to be without actually having to go to school and education. Because here's the reality, My Hero Academia: some people perform better in a practical sense rather than sit behind a desk.
And to add to Luke's point, in the side story, My Hero Academy Vigilantes, which I'm pretty sure is canon because it acts as a prequel of sorts, they did say that modern hero society was largely originally formed from vigilantes. And like part of the reason there's popularity is such a big thing in hero society is because the way they determined which of like who was a hero and who was a villain was largely based on popularity in the beginning, because it's like, okay, the people will tell us like who they like and who's been saving and protecting them. And in that sense, before hero society there were just people on the streets helping people. And to be fair, that's still happening. That's the story of vigilantes, and those guys ended up becoming heroes. The main character of vigilantes literally becomes a hero without ever having to go to hero school. He just got training from another vigilante slash retired hero. That's a whole sub story. And he got mentored by another pro hero, and now he's officially licensed. So yeah, there are other ways they could have gone to become heroes. And I guess what we're seeing now in the story with Gentle is like, here's someone else who is acting as a hero even though they don't have a hero's license. So if they explored that in the story, like in Maine, and I was expecting them to, honestly, I expected vigilantes to tie in at some point, but it really hasn't.
No,
It's the
hasn't
difference
in.
between like a college, a trade school, and practical learning,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah, which is something I would have loved to see. Like, speaking from the profession that I'm in, like, you don't have to go to drama school to become like a really famous actor. I mean, look at like actors like Johnny Depp, who never went to drama school, and yet he's like one of the most well-known actors out there.
Hmm.
Yep. There have been people who found success in the culinary industry without even going to culinary school.
Yeah. But I don't. That's the one aspect of My Hero that I wish was tackled more. Of the fact, like, it really does feel like a dictatorship. Like, if you use your quirk outside of without a license, then you are seen as like an evil person gonna go to prison or rah 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 rah. And I'm just there thinking
There's a lot of potential with that.
yeah,
Ah,
It really
shit,
was.
yeah. But I was just thinking
You good?
yeah,
uh,
it stubbed my pinky toe.
oh, ouch.
God.
But I really thought what one of the aspects that was going to happen, that was going to get like at the end of the war arc, that I really wish was explored, is like the consequences of not being allowed to use quirks out without a license. Because with that whole tidal wave of decay going at people, I really thought there would have been like, I would feel like someone had a quirk that could have saved people, but they didn't want to get arrested for using their quirk outside, and they hesitated.
Yeah, the most the main series did was show people trying to defend themselves and like them doing more damage because they weren't trained to. But again, you can't really fault people for trying to protect themselves when society has collapsed.
Yeah, but even then, I would have been much more satisfied with the war arc if we just had someone saying like, "I do not believe in Hero Society because they put this barrier in place, and now my family is essentially dead because I wasn't allowed to use my quirk."
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
let's.
that actually would have been great.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but and again, I've brought this up before, but that whole scene at the end of the war where we had Ochaku seeing that hero and is like, I'm going to retire from this. That would have been so much more impactful if it was a student that was saying that.
Yeah.
Like, again, what is the name of that student that's always bragging to Class 1A?
Monoma.
Yeah, like, it would have been so
Okay,
much more
you're really not bringing this up again, Luke.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I am.
Because I still disagree with this point.
But okay, fair enough. But I still would have liked it more because that would have brought his character full circle, in my opinion. Because he was always bragging of like, oh, Class 1A, you think you're so hot crap or hot shit for doing all of this, and then when he's actually in the field and seeing what it's like to be a professional hero, be in this situation, that would have been like a real eye opener for him.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have wanted him to like step out of being hero because he's like one of the most useful students at the school, and the current arc shows that.
Yeah, fair enough. But another aspect that's really just been brought up now, just from my head, is the whole aspect of like discrimination against certain quirks. Because if you notice in the series, like there are some quirks that people are prejudiced to because you think like that quirk is suited to being more of a villainous quirk, like with Shinto's quirk of mind control. Shinzo. Yeah, what was his name again?
Shinzo. And
yeah.
also Toga as well. She had that same story effectively.
Yeah, and I really wish that would have been an aspect to it that would have been explored of like just like people being prejudiced to people with certain quirks, where it's like, hey, we could be heroes with this quirk.
I mean, we did have some of that. But we could have definitely used more. I don't disagree with it.
Yeah.
I also wanted to just say, like, in my field, which is like all about licenses, the medical field, for those who need to know, it you are very limited by like what your education is and what schools you can go to, and quite frankly, afford to go to. But I also want to say that even in our real world in the medical field, you can continue your training like as a nurse to go into like nurse practitioning and then get responsibilities close to a doctor. You could go become a medical assistant and effectively do almost everything except maybe write prescriptions. And even psychologists who didn't go to medical school to be psychiatrists, they can, in certain states, based on their laws, you can even prescribe medicines just like a psychiatrist could. It's part of your practice. So, yeah, I would say that even
Not
in
in
the
Michigan.
real world, where training is needed because you're in a highly technical field that requires study, knowledge, and skills, and blah blah blah, there are ways to like gain that without going through this one route.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said before, it's like some people are like sitting there behind a desk, like looking at a test and being like, "Oh, I don't get this. But like, give them a practical, give them as like a practical, they'll be like, "Oh, I've got this in an instant." Like, yeah, some people are just more suited for being out there practically rather than sitting behind a desk.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Like there definitely is that.
We even got that if we had more with like the support schools, even because they existed, but we barely touched on those either.
Yeah,
Imagine if we expanded on that, and it's that way for people without quirks to be helpful.
Yeah, like the woman who calls her inventions babies. What was her name again?
Mei Hatsume.
Mei Hatsume, that was it. Like she if they really wanted to like combat the villains, she would be one of the most versatile heroes to use because she could just whip up like something in an instant. She's basically like Tony Stark. Except if Tony Stark was a high school student, it was just like, I'm crazy for my inventions, my babies.
My babies.
Yeah, there were just so many aspects of My Hero that really wish were touched up more as a series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, international heroes, like they came in, then they went so quickly.
Yeah, but I feel like the biggest one that if I was writing My Hero and it's like, what would I do differently? Like this is what I would do. I would not give Deku the most OP quirk.
What? The main character wouldn't get the OP quirk? How brave.
Now, I'd still give him a quirk. Like, that I wouldn't change. Like, I would still give him a quirk, but it would be more like a quirk that was more akin to like my idea would be like for his quirk would be like whatever he touches turns into like a disc that he could fire at people. So like, but it's like, but
He's got the Destructo disc from Dragon Ball, but
okay, fine. We'll go with the Destructo disc, but like, it couldn't be like things that were already circular. So like, he couldn't turn like a plate into a disc, but he could say like, "Oh, I've got this phone here. I'll turn that into a disc." And the more he worked at it, the more he could improve that quirk in a variety of ways. Like he could use the disc as like a shield. He could fire it off as like a projectile weapon.
I also want to say is that even with the extremely powerful ability, there are ways you can be more creative with it. One series I'm reading called the Battle Game in 5 Seconds. It has the main character with an ability that's basically your power is whatever someone thinks your power is, which has which at first you think is going to be incredibly overpowered because you can just say, oh, you can just like tell someone, oh, my power is this crazy ridiculous thing, but then they kind of pose limitations on it as we go along, like, oh, you can only do it one person at a time. If someone else, of course, sees you use a power, they'll be convinced that's your ability. And then if people can't properly imagine the ability, it'll affect the restrictions and blah blah blah. So there are ways to be more creative, even with giving a main character a super overpowered ability. And I think like the way Deku could have gone is they could have given him something close to what he had, like with multiple quirks, but his intelligence of how he uses them was very much lost from early MHA because the main character in the series I'm talking about, like he continuously is like finding new creative ways to use his powers and gaining new powers. But Deku, he's just like slowly just got overpowered to the point where he doesn't really need to think about things as much.
Yeah, and that's kind of a disappointment about Deku as a character. But also as well, it kind of like takes away from a little bit from him as like I'm just this average person who's suddenly he's basically the Avatar at this point.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, it's kind of like just quickly going back to my issue with the Wano arc in One Piece of how they retconned Luffy's devil fruit to be, oh, this is just like a seemingly average devil fruit to like, no, this is the devil fruit of a god.
yeah.
And literally, people have an issue of Orihime basically having like the regenerative powers of a god in Bleach. So why is it an issue for Orihime but not an issue for Luffy? And it literally does.
Because one is a well-written character, the other is written like a fucking board on the wall.
And literally, to me, it really did come off as like Oda having like, I have got no way of how Luffy can beat Kaido. He is just too strong. So it literally does pretty much come off as a Deus Ex Machina, in my personal opinion. I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, and that's fine.
How dare you disrespect Luffy?
But to me, it does feel like, because there was just not enough build up to it as being like, if there was more build up to it of like people being like, Luffy, your powers don't seem like a paramecia, they seem like something completely different, and Luffy would be like, huh, never really thought of that. Oh well. Like, if it was more like just people noticing how different his devil fruit was.
Yeah, I could kind of see that.
Yeah. But yeah, that again, cycling it back to My Hero, that is again what I don't like Deku as a character, of just like going from just being like an average person to being basically the Avatar.
Yeah. I'm just seeing that my local venue is having a Bikini Bottom rave right now.
Of course.
SpongeBob game out. It's really fun.
I need to get that because I love Battle for Bikini Bottom, so that's basically
It's like
like
the spiritual successor.
yeah. So I should enjoy that one. But yeah. So
I had a few more, if that's all right.
go ahead.
Okay, so like mine are kind of quick because I'm not sure how many of these people have seen. Because like the first one, every year I basically have like one anime that I consider okay, this is like the most underrated thing I've seen this year, and I wish more people knew about it. But it wasn't as good, to be fair, to last year's candidate, which was an anime called Healer Girls, because the concept was really good. And it's basically like a world where like uh a new branch of medicine exists where there are girls who can like sing and their songs have therapeutic effect, and it was considered like a branch of medicine like eastern, western, and like this. And what's interesting is at first I thought it was just going to be like really basic stuff, but from episode one, these guys have like a lot of knowledge about actual medicine and when they were actually talking and describing their diseases and healing processes. So I'm like, oh man, these guys actually go through like a lot of the similar training I did. I mean, maybe not exactly the same, but close enough that I would actually consider them peers if they existed in the real world. But the problem is, I wish they went a little bit more in depth with some of it. But I think that's also just because I am a professional in the field, and I was like, oh man, there's so much they could do with this besides just providing mental support to providers and stuff. But at the same time, I guess it's just not what the series wanted to do. But I would have liked to see more. Another show I want to talk about is Anohana. This one you guys might have seen, and this is like
Long
this
ago.
series. The series gets so much praise for being like the saddest like anime ever. But and having seen it, like it was pretty sad, but I think it was way exaggerated for how sad it
I
was
raise
going
you
to
to
be.
your eternity.
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
really good
isn't
one.
it? Isn't it that series about the girl who dies and all the friends meet up again when they're adults?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, right, yeah. I know which one you're referring to.
Yeah, that series, like I watched it and it's fine. It's not bad, but I just thought this got way overblown for how sad it is. Like this is not the saddest thing I've ever seen. And yes, Beck's great example to your charity. I'm watching second season and it's like one of the best things like is a story in general.
Yeah.
And then I think I had one more. Oh yeah, Flip Flappers. Flip Flappers is like an older series, but I remember back in the day, like when it was airing, people were talking about it. But really, the only thing that's good about it is it's one of those shows where it's like the animation just does most of the carrying. Story
Yeah.
wise, character wise, like it had no idea what it was doing. This was just
None.
like so much like glittery animation, and yeah, it got way too much praise because the actual story was so forgettable. Nobody even talks about it anymore.
I watched it like 4 episodes of it because it kept getting like talked about. I'm like, okay, I'll see what the fuck you're yapping about here. Jesus Christ. And I'm like, this sucks. Like the animation is godly, but like it had no identity whatsoever. Um,
Nope, and it really doesn't get it. It just does crazy stuff all the time. Calls it a show.
which I kind of respect in a pop team epic kind of way, but at the same time, like for the amount of praise it was getting, you thought it would be something of substance, and then it really wasn't. Um, I know it's not an anime, but I'm sure everybody here has played a Borderlands game at some point in their life.
I have not.
Really? I'm actually kind of shocked.
Borderlands, looking at it, it just didn't interest me.
I fucking love
You know what? It
cel-shaded
didn't
art.
interest me either, but give like a game a try. It's actually pretty fun.
It's like how people are like, oh, you should really play Minecraft. You should really play Minecraft. And I'm just there thinking like, Minecraft's just basically The Sims to me. They're like, how dare you say that? It's nothing like. Rah, 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 rah.
Like, I have tried on multiple separate occasions to get into Minecraft because I love watching Minecraft Let's Plays. Like, it fascinates me when people can do all these insane things. I get in a game of Minecraft, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Like, I just get overwhelmed. I can't, my brain does not work that way. But Borderlands, I loved because I love cel-shaded art, right? That story started off so fascinating to me, right? And then number 2, Handsome Jack, like any villain tier list, like he's S tier, you know? And then Borderlands 3 happened. And that's the best way to describe it, is it happened. Like, it had an interesting cliffhanger, but it's so far derailed the story for me that I'm like, what the fuck did I just play by the end of it? Like, Tyrene and her little twat of a brother were not interesting to me. Like, they were annoying. They were influencers. That was the villains. They were fucking like influencers. And there's nothing more obnoxious than a Mr. Beast-esque level of influencer that thinks their ego is so overinflated that they just can't see past their nose for the pile of shit that they're spewing. So, like, she thought she was everything. And I could not be invested in her as a villain. And that's really what kind of sold you on, like, that world. The side quests were cobbled together, but there was just enough lore to keep old-time fans hooked, and that is how they got people to beat that game. So, for me, like, the story of the Sirens is my favorite aspect, and tying the Sirens into this, like, interplanetary bullshit now has me wanting to play 4. But everything else about 3, I would have rather eat broken glass and play through again. And I've played through 2 no less than 20 times. But I can't bring myself to even finish the director's cut DLC of 3. It's so annoying. But yeah, like, that's one of those stories for me. I feel like I'm going to get the death threats for what I'm about to say. But I think that Mass Effect is one of the more overhyped stories. And I say that as a Mass Effect fan.
Okay.
I love...
One.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I can see where you're probably coming from. I think the ending of the trilogy gets too much hate, but I think I see where you're going with this, so continue.
So, like, for me, like, a game where my choices matter, right, has always intrigued me, because you know deep down you can't make every choice matter if you've done any level of programming in your life. So you realize that there are, like, tiers to this, and this is where I think, like, Telltale gets things right, and Mass Effect got them wrong. Because Telltale, you know what you're getting into, right? You know, like, not every choice is going to matter because it's a linear program. So you're going through with, like, 2 basic ends. Your good ending and your bad ending. And then, like, tangentially, what you decide on will, you know, raise or lower the stakes. With Mass Effect, they marketed it as every choice matters. And that's where they failed. Because at the end of the day...
I can agree with that.
At the end of the day, you can plot out exactly what matters if you played the series more than once. So you can just be like, I don't really give a fuck about that. By the second or third playthrough, you're like, I feel like I've done everything in this game. Because you start to realize, like, by the end of it, absolutely nothing matters, realistically. Like, you either die, you become one with the machine, or you just let everything kind of consist. But I love that concept, and I felt like Andromeda has set up the ability to do things a little bit better because you could see a little bit of where they were going with that story. But it also kind of tried to absolve itself of the past too, which was something that was really fascinating because like Shepard's sacrifice still happened in the universe, but it never had a chance to flourish because it was so cursed. I really wish we got a Mass Effect 4 coming out, so we already know Andromeda's not going to matter, but I really wish that story could have continued because I feel like it would have been a better way to do things than going back and now revisiting Shepard's story. Because now you know that realistically, no matter what choice you made in Shepard's story, it didn't matter at all anymore. Because you're still continuing it. So, if you chose that Shepard dies and sacrifices himself, like, well, guess what? It didn't really fucking happen, bitches. It's annoying to me because, like, you have so much potential there for it to be impactful, and then just like retcon it retroactively now sucks. I feel the same way about Life is Strange, and it's a franchise that if you follow the channel for any amount of time, know that I am a huge fan of. I own every comic for that. I own every edition of that game conceivable, and it's the same thing for me for Mass Effect, right? Like I fucking love that franchise to death, but like Life is Strange. It boils down to about 5 choices in that entire game. That's it. And then by the end of it, like, it realistically doesn't matter because it's either you save the Bay or you save the Bay. You know, you save Chloe or you save Arcadia Bay. Sacrifice Chloe, what did any of the rest of the fucking story matter for? You know, because, like, you spent the entire time building this relationship where, like, everybody else in the Arcadia Bay treats you like dog shit because you're even friends with her, realistically. So why would you care about the city? The only person that really mattered in that would be Joyce. Other than that, and Kate, whose story is one of the more tragic ones in there. But realistically, everybody else can just fuck off and die. I mean that unironically. The rest of the cast is that unlikable. And then you do this weird thing with Life is Strange 2, where, like, your save file from Life is Strange 1 ties into that, depending on, like, if David is alive or not. But outside of that, not a single choice in any other previous game matters to that. It's weird. I pick some weird games to love when I look at it, but I feel like that's kind of just the strange ones there for me.
Well, I'll offer, at least for Life is Strange, like a quick counter because I chose the other ending as my canon ending. I mean, I ended up choosing both to see what would happen. Mm-hmm. But for
there's
me,
even a mod where you can choose both.
Yeah, that makes sense. I basically wanted. I actually developed like a decent bond with I think most of the cast. Like there was one girl who you can stop from getting bullied.
Alyssa.
Just like with little small side activities. Oh, was that her name? Yeah, I guess you would remember. But yeah, and I really liked her. I also was a fan of Warren just because I could see a lot of myself in him when I was playing.
Yeah.
And even like what's preppy girl's name? Victoria, I think.
Yeah.
She was the worst in the beginning, but like she was supposed to like slowly develop over time, and I think it's half worked. And like you said, Joyce is another great character. So I did think by the end, I didn't want to like sacrifice the town, especially like with Chloe, for example. We did spend time bonding with her, but my God, that girl is so emotionally unstable because of life circumstances that she takes me out more than like most of the characters.
I think I chose her over everything because that is literally as toxic as I sound saying this. That is my type, and I hate it.
That's fair. At least you own up to that, and I can respect that choice. But I mean, I think with Chloe, like I started liking her more once her side game came out, and I got to know her a bit better.
I love the back talk feature.
Disliking the other. girl.
Like, yeah, no, 100% Rachel is a piece of shit. Like, fuck
Yeah,
Rachel.
actually. Like the whole first game is like, oh my god, Rachel was like this amazing person.
And no,
And
Chloe
we
just
lost
built her up
but
to be
no.
this, like, wholesome, God-fearing girl, basically. And then realistically, like, she was a drug dealer. She basically sexually assaulted people. It was fucked.
Yeah. And
Um,
I mean, like, I remember playing the game in the beginning thinking, oh man, it's too bad that the three girls couldn't be friends. And I'm like, nah, it's
no,
fine.
Max would have hated her.
And according to the comics, though, they wouldn't. Because the comics, they all got to just be buddies.
Yeah, but, like, also there's, like, a tangential timeline, so why does it matter?
Yeah,
Um,
God. We just talked about time travel, but my God, Life is Strange takes it a whole other direction with time
yeah.
travel.
Like, I love the time travel in Life is Strange just because it's so bizarre. The ghost kid
It
that
is
they
fun.
introduced was really cool in the comics. I really liked him.
Oh yeah. I forgot his name, but I remember him. He was cool.
But,
But
like,
I also still have to play finish the second one and actually play the third one.
I'll say the third one is fun, but they marketed it like as this, like, open world, and it feels like it's more closed off than the original game. That's just my 2 cents. You might feel differently about it, but yeah, you definitely visited the same locations a lot more, which kind of makes sense. The whole D&D bar thing going on, and yeah.
And since we were talking about games with like choices and how much they matter, I guess tying back to like well, I'm not sure missed opportunities, but more we would like to see is a game I played last year that lived up to my expectation was Digimon Survive, where your choices basically determined like the ending and who lived and died. And it was such an interesting way to
Ah.
go about Digimon. And I would recommend to anyone who grew up with the adventure games, especially because it feels like the characters are very heavily inspired based on them, but it's like, okay, we know you guys are adults now and like darker stories. So here's like a darker story about Digimon. And so yeah, it was a good story, but I also thought to myself, there's so much more potential they could have had with both the game mechanics, the strategies, as well as even the choices that you had. Like, because effectively there were like three main types of choices you can make, which led to three different types of endings,
Hmm.
which is fine, and plus a true ending and like a bad ending that's just game over. Um,
The
but
bad
I
ending
thought
was like if you
there's
died
so
like 5 or 6 hours in, wasn't it?
no, like the bad ending is just like when you get to like the crucial, like, oh, this is the decision that decides your ending. And it's basically between like the top two of the three choices, plus the main character just decides to give up on the spot for some reason. I mean, it makes sense because he was like exhausted by this point, but at the same time, it's like, this was just a game over ending. It didn't feel organic. But
Ah.
anyway, the point is, I think there were so many more endings and possibilities. When I talked to other people who played the game, it would have been interesting to see like different characters that didn't have much of an arc get like their own like endings, because effectively the other endings alternately go with, okay, this character died, which severely traumatized this other character, and that led to all kinds of nonsense. And so it's like, okay, but then there are certain characters who can't die effectively, and then there are characters like your main character obviously, but then there's characters who are like you can't stop from dying up until like a second playthrough. And I understand why they did that, but I just felt like there was way more opportunities for like alternate endings. But at the same time, if we get sequels where they expand upon this, I can pretty much take back all these complaints.
From my scene, like, it was decently successful. It wasn't like a massive success, but then again, no Digimon game is
I
a
mean, they
mess.
posted the sales. They posted the sales numbers, so I think that's a good sign of success because they sold like 500,000 in like 6 months, which
Yeah.
by Digimon standards is like,
Right.
oh, this is better than some of our like current flagship titles.
No, I think like Digimon Cyber Sleuth just is hitting close to that. Like, it's insane how little
Yeah,
that game sold for as much fucking fun as that game is. That
it
is
really is. I was surprised when I saw it.
like that game got me back into Digimon. Not try that game got me back into Digimon, and then I went and I went and watched the first try, but I refuse to continue past there because I don't want that story to end. Because I'm a big sucker for the original Digimon. As fucked as our translation was.
Last Evolution will like crush you. That's how
Right.
I feel.
I have
But
heard.
the good news is that I think that we're still getting more because there's an
We are-
Adventure 2.
We
like,
are
remake thing.
getting more, which is supposedly about the very first Digidestined.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which, when that
Which
comes
I
out,
definitely
might.
want to see after try.
But yeah, just to go off on a bit there with what you said about Last Evolution, it will break you until you realize that it's canon to the epilogue of season 2. So it makes the whole emotional journey completely pointless.
I'm still
Yeah.
unsure how the epilogue of Adventure 2 works and all this, so I'm choosing to ignore it for now until it makes sense.
I'm sure it'll make sense by the end of Adventure 2 try. It's fucking Digimon. It's always been convoluted.
Oh,
But-
yeah, definitely.
So,
Go ahead.
has anybody played Yakuza?
No.
Those first few hours of Zero.
Okay. So, I'm basically a Yakuza virgin. And that's what I'm doing for the next stream. I've played bits and pieces of, like, multiple games. But I respect one thing about that franchise so well, and that's how they treat an open world. And, you know what I mean? Like, you have open worlds, and this is a concept I feel like fails and is very successful in a lot of things. You have open world games where it feels barren, like Breath of the Wild, right? So, like, that
Yeah.
concept being, like, the key marketing point for Breath of the Wild, it's a great step for the Zelda franchise. But it's still not something that's, like, so noteworthy because we have been spoiled by worlds like Skyrim and Yakuza, which is closed in, but it still feels like this very lived-in world. And even GTA, we've gotten used to these, like, massive worlds. But I feel like Breath of the Wild was let down by the fact that that was the key marketing standpoint of that game.
I just want to quickly add on to that with GTA. There's also Saints Rows,
Which is what I prefer, honestly. I love Saints Row much more than GTA.
I prefer Saint Rose 2 just because of the fact that, like Cyril Punctuation said in his review of it, when you give people a world full of cars, guns, and squishy people, they're going to want to fuck this world shit up.
No, 100%. Like, so, for me, like, the fact that Saints Row doesn't take itself seriously anymore is, like, the biggest reason why I love it. Because the first two were very much GTA clones. We can all agree there. But everything after that is like, you know what? Let's give you the dildo bat basically from the start. You can go fuck people up with it. There's an alien invasion. You're the president of the United States because why the fuck not? And you're now inside of a prison ship on planet Fuckwit, and you got like all these other things that are inside the simulation, like it's a Rick and Morty episode, because we choose not to take ourselves seriously. Also, there's a spinoff in Hell. And then the reboot happens, and we don't talk about the reboot. So there's a spin-off game of Saints Row 4 that's just Johnny Gat in Hell. It's like the Far Cry Primal of Saints Row. Because
I have no comment.
Well, is there anywhere else that Johnny Gat would go with everything he's done?
Time travel.
No, that's part of it too.
Oh my word. Okay, yeah, it's all been done now.
Yeah, that's why they kind of had to do like the soft reboot, and it tries so hard to be woke, anti-woke, and fucking absurdist humor, but also like Gen Z. It's trying so many things at once. It doesn't have an identity of its own. And I say that as somebody that went into it, given the code, and it still felt like they were ripped off. So, that's pretty bad when you feel like that. But yeah, this is just one of those things, like, I feel like that concept of an open world is such a marketing point now that we've gotten to the point where like an open world has to continue to evolve more and more and more. That I almost, you know the meme, like I want shorter games with shittier graphics and I'm serious kind of thing.
Yeah.
I like that's how I feel. Like I don't want a 900-hour open world game every game. I want a game that's quick, concise. I can finish it in under like 40 hours sometimes. Which is why God of War. Yeah,
like Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, Jedi Fallen Order, God of War 2018, which is a phenomenal story that I'm playing God of War Ragnarok. I went out and bought a fucking PS5 because I beat God of War 2018. That is the whole reason.
I still gotta play that game. That is
the whole reason I went out and bought it. And because Final Fantasy 16 is going to be a PS5 exclusive for God knows how long. So I gotta play Final Fantasy 16.
Don't forget the new Ratchet and Clank. That's also really good.
I saw your comment on my TikTok. I have it on my list to buy when I get my next check. But I'm just over here like I might as well buy it because now there are multiple games that I will play. Before I'm like, well, Forspoken's coming to PC, so I don't need to buy a PS5 for it because it's a game I was actually interested in. It looks just like it's Infamous, but in medieval times, so fuck it, I'll buy it. Returnal's on PC, so
because I haven't heard good things.
I like trash movies, so I'm sure I'll like a trash game.
Well, you know what's coming out next month?
Yeah.
Jedi Survivor next month.
I saw it got pushed back a few weeks.
What?
Yeah. I posted in the general gaming. Let me go back. I know it got pushed back a little bit. I don't think it got pushed back too much, though. Got to scroll past Carl's stuff in here. Blah, 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 blah. Thought I posted it in general gaming.
Google search probably.
I'll probably find it.
Yeah. And there was also me bitching about the price of upgrading my Ghost of Tsushima to PS5 copy for $30.
Yeah, it's April, the end of April.
Not that much of a pushback. I'm completely okay with that. So, like, Forspoken is one of them that I'm going by. Fucking Returnal's on PC. So I didn't really have a need to buy a PS5 until I beat God of War 2018. And I'm like, I'm not going to dodge spoilers for this forever. I have not seen a single spoiler for that game to this point. I'm so fucking grateful. But at the same time...
Yeah, God of War community is actually pretty cool.
At the same time, my best friend and I were going through God of War 2018 at the same time. I'm like, I want to tell her what's going on, but I don't want to be that douchebag either. I want to talk about the game, but I don't know anybody else who's fucking played this or even really cares about it. So I'm just like, fuck. And I'm over here like Lucy from Disenchantment, like, okay, it's time to buy a PS5 now. If I did it, you can do it. But it's one of those things like, I wanted to buy it like when it came out, but it was so fucking impossible to buy one when they first came out. Like, I had 8 tabs during early COVID open for every store. Like, there are stores I never will shop at in my entire life, like fucking Kohl's, that I was saving my credit card info to, just to try and buy a PS5, and I can never get one. And I didn't want to pay scalper prices.
I actually got lucky with my PS5. We got it like a month after it released at Walmart.
You got real lucky. I walked into my local Meijer and saw a digital and a physical version in there. I'm like, okay, I'll buy you next week. Because I want to save enough money so I could save some money while I'm on vacation. You know, like, I'm partitioning my checks, basically. So I'm just like, well, I'll buy it next week so I can get it. The digital was gone. I'm like, well, I don't really give a fuck because I like physical media anyway, so I'll buy the physical one. And I'm like, there's no disc for God of War here. And they're like, but it comes with a digital copy. I'm like, but I don't care if it comes with a digital copy. I don't want a fucking digital copy of the game. I want the disc. But, you know, logically, I already paid for the game because you can't buy the fucking system separately. You have to buy it with a bundle. That was their way of beating scalpers, basically. It's like, you have to buy it with this. They can't just bundle a bunch of games with it that they got resale. And, But, so I bought it, and I'm like, that's made me really respect, like, the pseudo open world. Where, like, you're on a linear path. It's open enough to where there's some exploration, but there's not, 800 hours Skyrim level of exploration. That's the kind of, like, open world I really like at this point. There was a point in time where I liked the RPGs where I could spend 400, 500, 600 hours in it. And then I, became an adult with responsibilities, and I don't want to spend that much time in one fucking game anymore. But yeah, like, I just feel like Breath of the Wild was really hurt by that marketing, because, like, it is an open world, but the way they talked about it, they made it seem like it was just, like, overly expansive, like, Skyrim-esque level, and it really, really wasn't. I really respect that they kind of learned from that, because they kind of realized that was a major complaint, that they're not pushing that for Tears of the Kingdom or whatever the fuck the sequel's called. I also still haven't beat Breath of the Wild, so sue me. It was a fucking launch title for the Switch, and I still haven't finished it. But that's one of them for me. Like, that game was really hurt by that. Anybody else got a game that they can throw in there?
Not really. That I don't think is overrated, because I haven't really played any games I consider overrated. If a game just doesn't interest me, I'm not going to play it.
I'm getting a lot more of that now. Like, I used to be like the achievement hunter person, where I would buy the shitty games that I knew I would hate but had really easy achievements. So, like, your King Kongs and your Avatar: The Last Airbender Burning Earth that you can get 1,000 gamer score in 3 minutes. And now now I just don't care. Like, I will try to get every achievement if it's a game I really, really like. But if it's a game I like enough, but I'm not going to fucking sit down and, say it's one of the best games ever, I'm not even going to try to get every achievement anymore. I have adult money now, so I don't need to sit down and sink every dollar out of a game if I don't feel like it. Like, when I was a kid, like, well, that was the game I got, so I got to sit down and, unlock every skin for every gun in this Call of Duty, just that kind of thing.
So, I mean, I know for me, like, when people praise like a game a lot, one thing I always have to ask is, okay, but it's the thing that they're praising a lot for, and maybe this would have been more interesting back and forth if Red were here to join us. But, like, if the thing that they're praising a lot is, oh, this game is super difficult, I'm like, okay, I don't think that's really bragging points.
Your
Because
Dark Souls, is that what you're
yeah,
getting at?
I mean, Souls-like games and like other games that are effectively similar in that manner of, we designed the game to be very hard, and that is our sticking point. And I mean, I know some people want the challenge, but for me, I don't see that as like a big, because like if you just make a game that's just designed to like, oh,
Annoy
the
you.
whole thing is just for you to be as good as possible and spend as much time to be specifically very good at this very specific game until you beat it, and your reward for it is you beat the game. I'm like, okay, those are fun to watch people like get frustrated and like play. I will admit I find that entertaining, but it as a game, I don't find that very appealing, because like for me, I play a game because I want to see the characters, the choices, the world, and like maybe some fun creative ways to use the mechanics. So if for me, I think like games that are like very much praised about, oh, this is a game that you're just never gonna beat. It's like, cool. That also sounds like a game I'll never play, because I already can barely get through games that aren't hard, but I don't have the time to play. You want
Right,
to
no.
give me a game with like 20 million barriers to skill level and expect me to be invested when you don't have anything other than the pure difficulty of the game?
So I'm
I
with
think
you
like
there.
Cuphead is another example because like the art style was fantastic, but I'm not actually. I mean, I played it at a friend's place, and I'm like, cool. I'm glad I experienced this multiplayer with you, and now I'm never going to touch this again.
So I bought Cuphead because I wanted to support the studio, first and foremost, because that is
It's
a
fair. I mean,
I I I grew up hating Mega Man because I sucked at it, right?
oh, I wholeheartedly agree with this.
Like my buddy loved Mega Man. He knew every fucking frame of that game because he grew up with an NES like me. So he knew like every frame of Mega Man 1, every frame of Mega Man 2. So he knew how to beat it. So he loaned me his Mega Man 2 because I didn't have it for some reason. My dad was a big NES guy, but he didn't have every game ever. But so he loaned me his copy of it. I'm like, I want to try and play the thing that you like, and see if I can get good at it. And I never in my life have been more frustrated until I played a Dark Souls game. I love min-maxing characters in RPGs. That's one of my favorite things to do. I like being good at the one particular skill and building my party around that. I don't like min-maxing in a Soulsborne. I have tried every single Souls game. Everyone. And I fucking suck at every one of them. And it's entertaining for people to watch you suck at this game, right? So, like, from a content perspective, you'd think that'd be like, oh, funny. But that community makes that so goddamn difficult to enjoy as well. Because, you ask for tips on it. It's like, oh, get good scrub. So, like, just coupled with the fuck you difficulty, add in that shitty, toxic community. I really want no part of that. But I also love the art style that they create in that because I love that high fantasy, like gothic architecture stuff. I love that. So I want to be invested in this to a degree, So like I'll always like watch somebody suck at those types of games, but like after playing Elden Ring on stream, I think I've had my fill of that universe realistically. Like Sekiro, I tried Neo because I love samurais, suck at it. That Pinocchio game looks fucking fantastic, that Lies of P, but like I'm terrible at those games, and the older I get the less I enjoy trying to get overly good at something and failing miserably when I could be doing literally anything else where I'm good at it, or I can throw it on like a story mode or like not a fuck you difficulty. Like for like the Valkyrie stuff in God of War, I'm like, okay, I'm having a little bit of difficulty. I could turn this down, but I'm only playing the game on normal to begin with. So what's the point of turning it down any lower? I just need to grind a little bit. Get better at dodging, and I'm like, okay, I can overcome this. I don't ever want to play the game on the hardest difficulty anymore. That's something I used to do, but I think like trying Souls games kind of ruined that for me. Like playing games on a higher difficulty than like normal, because even like a normal to that is like fuck you. So yeah, like those difficulty games, no, not absolutely not, no. Again, how? Does anybody remember? This might just be a me thing, but like there was a game that was notorious in arcades called Dragon's Lair.
Yes. Oh my god.
So I feel like that's
Never
where
heard of
that
it.
I feel like that's where that trend kind of initiated because it was like notoriously difficult and it was meant to be like a money sink for kids. So you would get that and you would get to like X number of screens in and it would just like instantly fail you, so you'll sink more quarters into it. I feel like that's where the mindset for the Souls games came from.
Yeah, probably. But no, you know what? You know where the Mind Souls came for the Dark Souls games? It came from the Famicom Transformers.
I can safely say I've never played that one.
I've played it on an emulator, and basically, one hit and you're dead.
So like the underwater level of TMNT or like Battletoads the bike level.
Yeah. Tyler knows what I'm talking about.
What?
The Famicom Transformers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where basically you are weaker than every enemy in the game.
Yeah. You're playing as Ultra Magnus, and one hit, you're dead.
Yeah, and guess what the final boss is? It's
What?
Unicron.
It's not Unicron, it's not Megatron, it's not Galvatron, it's Mechagodzilla.
What?
Mechagodzilla.
Why though?
I don't know.
That's fucking stupid.
I know, but yeah, that game, like playing that on an emulator, is just like infuriating. On the same level of playing the Ultraman Necrozma battle in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon.
Yeah, like there were a lot of games like that back in the day though. Like they had to artificially like extend your playtime basically because there was so little read-write memory on those discs or those cartridges.
Oh,
So-
and another one that was like hard. I brought this up on the final boss, but like Heart of Darkness, that is a really like challenging game because basically it's the same thing. One hit and you're dead.
Yeah, like there. I wish we could continue that video, but like there's no way to recover that at this point.
No. And did you ever play the Oddworld games?
They're on my PS5 to play because I got Soulstorm. It's my free game for getting it.
You should stream that just to see how infuriatingly
I did play like
be.
Stranger's Wrath on PS3 because it was an old PS Plus game. I remember that being a really fun game. But I never played like Abe's Odyssey or any of that shit because I never had those as a kid. I had never even heard of them until the PS3, and then I'm like, oh, saw one series, cool. I'll get to that eventually, and then like my backlog now, like why I stream at this point is so I can clear my backlog. Because it goes back like 5 generations at this point of games I'd never played or games I wanted to play and just never could, or games I've bought mostly and have never played thinking I'll play them one day. Looking at you, Steam library. Oh, so tempting, mistress. Oh, the new Dragon Ball Z game is $9.99. Surely you'll have time to play that amongst your other 700 games you've bought. I don't say that as like ironic. That's like literally what my Steam library is like. It's 1,000 games of shit that I've bought out of just sheer like this is on sale. I feel like that's any PC gamer though, realistically. But so I think there's one other series that is overlooked, and I just to kind of close this out because we're hitting like 2.5 hours. If nobody else has one.
Well, I had just one more, which you, excuse me, which you kind of brought up with the whole talking about Digimon and attachment to the original series. It's like, well, it's more broader thing. Like when people are just like nostalgic for the older series without really thinking about like why they actually enjoyed it in the first place. Like with Pokemon Generation 1, how it's constantly pandering to Generation 1, and you're just thinking like they're like, was it really that good?
Was Mighty Morphin really that good, Hasbro? Does it need 8 lines of figurines?
Yeah. Was Misty and Brock really good companions to Ash? Where the biggest
May,
plot hole
Serena,
where the biggest plot hole of that series comes in is like Brock, particularly Brock, should know who the gym leaders are.
No, for real though. Like, oh, you're my companion in the gym leaders guild or whatever you would want to go with. No, really? No? I could swore you and your orange hair and your jean shorts definitely were in the photos that we definitely were all in the same location for.
Yeah, and that's another thing as well about Pokemon, the original series. If you look back on it, like just constant filler after filler after filler, but also as well like what doesn't make any sense is like Nurse Joy is supposed to be an inspector for the Pokemon League, but yet never inspects like Erica's gym, Blaine's gym, Sabrina's gym.
Yeah, or just the fact that you have a battle of metapods for like 10 minutes in one episode, which is the dumbest idea. Like any Pokemon trainer would have just, swapped out.
Metapod versus Metapod is the best thing ever, Fex.
It is the most ridiculous thing ever. Anybody that played the game is over there screaming, even if they're 5. Like, why aren't you switching it out?
Yeah, but also as well, it kind of goes back to
the fact that Ash never earned a fucking thing in that series.
Oh no, he earned a few, but not all of them. But yeah, also as well, it's kind of going over like what's happening now in what I'm seeing in Aim to be a Pokemon Master. Like people are complaining, like, "Oh, Ash is bringing back his Pokemon, but really they're only showcasing them just to be here." And I'm just there thinking, like, this is what you've wanted for ages.
You wanted Dragonite, you wanted Charizard, you wanted Squirtle, you wanted Bulbasaur. Like, why are you complaining that they're bringing these back as obvious nostalgia bait for you particular fuckers?
Yeah, to obviously like, hey, it's Ash's final run in the series. We're gonna bring back all his old Pokemon.
He better see Pidgeotto.
I feel like we're going to be seeing Pidgeotto, but also as well, like people are just holding out for what the ultimate end goal is, because I might as well just say it now. There's a Latias following Ash throughout this whole series, so it seems like the idea is that at the end of it, Ash is going to capture the Latias, and that's going to be like, okay, he's a Pokemon Master now. He's caught a legendary.
Not to mention he had an Ultra Beast for a while, but we're just going to ignore that.
That doesn't count as a legendary, apparently.
Whatever. We'll call it a mythical and move on. But isn't technically Latios a mythical too? So realistically,
no, it's a legendary. It's carried as a legendary.
I hate that.
Yeah, I hate that as well. But yeah, that's the point of like people are seeing the Pokemon again that they've wanted to see, and they're just
they're
there,
bitching and moaning.
Bitching and moaning about the episodes that they appear, and I'm just there like,
my brother in Christ, you've wanted this Pokemon back forever. Why are you caring this much about how they're bringing it back? Yeah. It should have been back before the last 12 episodes. Oh, shut the fuck up, Karen.
And also, as well, like there was that special episode where people were like saying, where there was a message in the episode where it's like basically to the audience of just like, hey, we haven't got long with Ash, so just enjoy what we're going to give you with him. And people Lumiose Trainer Sack. Oh, what was that? I've completely forgotten about that.
How dare they only give us a limited time with the protagonist we've had for 25 fucking years?
It's not that. He's going
to be around for 11 more episodes, so sit down and shut up.
It's not that. They're complaining about, like, the Pokemon are being brought back, but they're not doing anything. And I'm just there like, what more do they need to do?
The fucking Charizard should have fought in the final battles more. Fucking Bulbasaur should have vine whipped somebody's ass cheeks. I don't know what these people want anymore. I've quit caring. That's all I can describe it as. I have just quit caring what PokeTubers want at this point. They're so fucking fickle. And I say that as like a content creator. You don't need to make everything your entire personality, my child. Okay? It's not that deep. It's a fucking show aimed at 10-year-olds.
Yeah, and also as well, isn't it just nice to see these characters again one last time before they leave for good?
We don't want him to leave anymore, Luke. We don't want him to leave. We've grown attached to him over the span of this final battle because he actually did something and won.
Yeah, and that's the thing that it's like, yeah, you guys cannot, you can't keep saying Pokemon Generation 1 is good just because it's the original. I hate that notion. out of anything that we've talked about here, the one thing I hate most of being overpraised, it's the original, and that's it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, like the original is overly praised. I see. Here's the thing. Like we broke this down quite a few times, but like we grow attached to the things we grew up with, right? For me, like Dragon Ball is still very much in my scope. The original Gundam is still very much in my scope, like Gundam Wing. I still hold things like Shaman King and fucking, like Yu Yu Hakusho very high in regard because I grew up with them, right? Those were like my starter pack anime along with Pokemon. But I realize that I am no longer the target demographic for this particular show. I am here out of nostalgia. I am here because I enjoy this thing still. But I am no longer the target demographic for this. So I'm not going to sit and complain about every minute detail on it, because I'm not the one that should be complaining. If the thing is objectively bad, the 10-year-olds that are consuming this product are the ones that should be vocal about it. And they had the means to be vocal about it now, unlike when we were growing up.
Yeah.
So like with Pokemon, like it would be something different if like little Jimmy down the road is complaining about Pokemon that they don't fucking know about because they weren't there for those original journeys. It would be different if they were complaining about it, but they're not. It's 35-year-old men on the internet with a beard thicker than ZZ Top and a mic.
And a YouTube channel with nearly 1 million subscribers.
Right. Like, it's those people that are vocal about it. It's not their product.
Yeah,
it's there for their ad revenue, but it's not their product.
Yeah, and it's going to be funny because I am waiting for the moment where you get something that they were shitting on when it was in the series, and then they come back and they're just like, "This is the greatest thing ever." This character's going back. I'm just going to be like, "You were shitting on this character when they were around, so don't give me that BS."
Right, and it's very obvious why people do this if you've spent any time on the internet. If you've spent any time as a content creator, they're doing it because it gives them views. It's no different than what we're doing right now. We're sitting here bitching and moaning about them that are bitching and moaning about the thing. I realize how ironic this is from the perspective of the viewer.
Yeah.
But it gets them the clicks. It's the clickbaity title like, Best Girl is coming back! And it's a fucking, Serena. But, like, during her series, they were sitting there like, I fucking hate this companion. I want Misty back.
Yeah, or people going like, Dawn is Best Girl, she's back. And people were literally bitching about her in Diamond and Pearl.
Right. But it gets them the click. And the click is all that matters on this platform. Yeah. They don't give a fuck about, like, the fact that they have 1 million people in their comments supporting the character, as long as they got them to hate click it or to love click it. They're like, yeah, this is my favorite character. Let me hear what they have to say. Or they get the click of like, how dare you talk down about this character? Or how dare you praise this character? I fucking hate them with every fiber of my being. And you did too 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's just my mini rant about that. There's nothing more annoying than that, and I hate that I contribute to that exact thing.
Yeah, and one last thing that I had to talk about, the only other series that I had on my radar, Spy X Family. Like, in all honesty, it shouldn't be praised. It's just being like this revolutionary series for just because of the wholesome aspect, where we've literally had series like it that do the wholesome aspect for years and years beforehand.
But see, none of them are bi-weekly from our aspect anyway. But no, like I knew that would come up. That's why I never had it on my list. I'm shocked it actually took this long to get to it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm shocked as well. But yeah, Spy X Family at the beginning was good. It was very wholesome, but it seems to be like a series that doesn't know what it wants to be.
No, I haven't read the last 2 chapters or 3 chapters. I don't even know at this point. I've been letting like jump chapters build up that we're not covering, just so I can have some life outside of being on screen for now close to 8 hours. That's terrifying to think about. But no, like I don't think it deserves the praise that it gets. It definitely doesn't deserve. I saw that there was like 3 or 4 new projects that it's getting that are being published by Viz. It doesn't deserve that. It doesn't deserve that. I'll be completely honest. Like, there are still Bleach novels that haven't been translated. There's still shit from Black Clover that hasn't been translated. But like, it's been like 3 months since that novel went to Japan, and now we're getting it here. Like, that is like the quickest turnaround I've ever seen for a product. So that's kind of annoying to me. The other one, like, I think what the biggest issue for Spy X Family for me right now is that we are like 3 years into his publication, and the main character is just now starting to see some form of massive development. You know? Like, she grew a little bit as a character, but she's just now starting to be like the main character, right? Because it is Anya's story.
Which is funny because everyone thinks Lloyd is supposed to be the main character.
But he's not. He's not. He's really not. Like, he is the camera piece, basically, but Anya is the main character. She's the one driving the plot. The mission succeeds or fails based on how well Anya does in the school. She is the main character. And like, she's just now mattering. Like, she's just now being used as a plot device outside of, like, everything hinging on her. You know, she's being here, putting herself in danger. She's doing all the things that the main character would do. And we're 3 years into the fucking publication of the series.
Yeah, but even on the wiki itself, like the official Spy X Family wiki, Lloyd Forger is the main protagonist of the Spy X Family series.
I highly disagree. What do you guys think?
I disagree as well. I don't know about Pie Jams or Tyler.
Okay, wait, what are we disagreeing on?
Is Anya, in your opinion, is Anya the main character in Spy X Family?
Oh, okay. I mean, I thought that we were in agreement with that point.
Yeah.
Because Anya, like...
Yeah.
Because literally, you speak to anyone, everyone wants to talk about Anya. No one wants to talk about Lloyd.
Lloyd's boring as shit.
Cases aside, and I mean, Lloyd does, I think, have like the most like character in the story of the main characters because he has the whole backstory fleshed out for him. But with Anya, though, the reason I consider her like the main character is because most of your stuff is just, oh, well, I had this brother who I raised, now I'm an assassin, and Lloyd, you would think would be the main character because he's running Operation Strix, but I think Anya's the main character because she's the one who's actively, technically doing the mission. Lloyd is mostly just, in a way, playing support for her. Like, in terms of, like, infiltrating, like, the inner circle or whatever. And in that sense, Anya befriending Damien is probably the actual point of the story, which is really weird now that I'm saying all these words out loud because, oh my god, we got so derailed in that series.
Yeah,
but yeah, so I would consider Anya the main character because she's supposed to be doing the protagonist-esque
right,
things.
but you
Also,
go
she's the orphan child.
Right, but like you go online and like everybody seems to think that she isn't the main character, it's Lloyd. But like Lloyd might be the operative, but like in the camera piece for us for most of the part, but like Anya is the one that has to execute the mission. Like that's the thing that baffles me with that. And the fact that it's 3 years into his publication and we're just now getting her to do like protagonist shit is disgusting. It's horrible writing.
Well, you want to know what's crazy? The fact that we're 3 years into the publication and it's not even at chapter 100.
Well, if the dude would stop drawing fucking borderline foot porn, okay? And I'm saying this is to do with the foot fetish, but stop with the centerfold model shit and write the goddamn plot.
Yeah, and again, Anya as a quote unquote main character or however you want, she's just not that interesting, and
she's not.
And to counter this about like me saying like because people will be like, oh yeah, the reason why she's not interesting is because
she's a 5-year-old. Yeah,
she's a 9-year-old. Like, one word for that: Suika.
Well, not even just Suika. Like, there have been interesting children characters.
Literally,
Conan from Detective Conan is more interesting than fucking Anya.
Yeah, but literally, Suika going from a kid that felt like she couldn't do anything, was completely useless, to literally being the one to save humanity. That has been more than Anya has done.
Yeah, Emma did more as an 11-year-old. Like, I don't understand, like, the cop-out of, like, the fact that she's a kid. Like, who the fuck cares? She's the plot device. She's the main character. Let her do the story. Let her fucking, befriend the cunty fucking rich kid.
Yeah, hell, in Mission Yosako family has gone through more development. She's had less screen time.
No, for real, though. I don't get it. Like, I have never been so quickly disappointed in a series as I have been with Spy X Family. I realize, like, it's one of the top series on the planet, but, like, I don't care. Go ahead.
Nothing.
But yeah, like, the final one for me, and I feel like I'm alone in this one as well. But I really, really, really think the Black Clover has so much unused potential that it's ridiculous. Like, I've talked my heart out about, like, the not dealing with the dwarves, but, like, there's so many ways that Tabata should have expanded things from, like, the Heart Kingdom stuff. The fucking... Every kingdom, it feels like he starts development of it, and building this universe, but leaving so much room to make me care more about the characters. Because every time we go from there, it's like this disaster being averted, to, well, off to the next adventure. And then they fuck off in whatever direction to the next kingdom, where you leave half of a story unfinished. It's really depressing because it's one series that I've always loved fantasy as like my bread and butter, genre. I go to it all the time. I feel like from even like in gaming on down to like literature, like when I was a kid and read, and now I just read manga for YouTube. I can't even sit down and fucking read an actual novel anymore. I have to use audiobooks. It's depressing. But like I feel like there's so much that could have been developed between like the Diamond arc to the Heart arc with those characters, like Mars, for example, saw the most screen time out of that. But most of his story got relegated either to the light novel or off screen before he came back, which is insane. And then for the Heart arc, you had the Queen and everything going on, Lola Chica, but after the end of that, we haven't even seen those characters again. We don't know what the fuck happened to those characters realistically. It's bizarre to me. Like, the man leaves so many chips on the table but never utilizes them. You would think during the Spain invasion that it would matter, but we see Mars and that's it. It's stupid.
It feels like it feels like that meme, like in Toy Story, where like the other kingdoms are like, Woody's like, I don't want to play with you anymore.
It really does. It really does. Like I never thought of it like that, but it really does like feel like that, and it's saddening because there's so much potential for this universe to be some of the top tier world building if you would just sit down and world build. Yeah,
and also as well, another aspect of Black Clover that I question a lot is like, it's like trying to turn Nozel into Byakuya 2.0.
I kind of agree with that, but like, remember when the man wanted to turn this into a One Piece length series?
Oh my god, yeah. That kind of fell by the wayside as well.
No kidding. I respected that for the longest time. Like, I want to turn this into One Piece. I'm like, okay. And you could see that there were workings of that early on, like the way he wrote his story.
Oh,
but,
yeah, for sure.
But he realized, like, oh, fuck. I can't stretch this 1,000 chapters. Like, I could see it being like 600-700, but I don't picture him having it like 1,000 chapters. And he realized that quite quickly by like the second or third story point, and he's like, let's dial it back a little bit. But it feels like he keeps dialing it back too much, and now for what was once a really great world, like, it's unfortunately just like a C or D tier series, because there's so much unexplored potential, and we're in the final journey now. So we're not going to get all of that answered. We're not going to see the politics of the Heart or the Spade Kingdom realistically. We're not going to see like how these cities rebuilt after their like near cataclysmic event with G and Z tier fucking villains, because Asa's meant to body them after nearly dying. So
we haven't really. And it's really just been all confined to like the Clover Kingdom rather than all the
Diet Wano we're in now.
Yeah, Diet Wano, but also as well like just that whole continent that we're on with like the Clover, Diamond, Spade, and Heart Kingdoms. When it's only feels like one part of the world.
And we know there's more to it. It's been hinted at that the world was bigger. And now we're seeing a little bit of it, but like, we're at the end game, so why does it matter?
Yeah.
Like, make me care about Diet Wano, and you'll have at least 5 points back from me, Tabata.
Well, also make try not to turn Yami into
Sasuke.
I was gonna say Itachi.
Yeah, but like it's the Sasuke story here that we're telling all over again.
Yeah, and then you have and then like I said,
the sister is Sasuke and Yami's Itachi.
Yeah, and like I said a few minutes ago, with Nosal and Noel basically doing the whole Byakuya Rukia thing, which again, that always bothered me, because it's like looking back on it, like Nosal was just like, I promised my mother I would protect my sister. Doesn't do squat to protect her.
It actively makes her life worse, actually.
Yeah, like that would be like if say my parents died and my mother was like, okay, you gotta look out for your brother, make sure he doesn't do anything stupid, and he let me do something incredibly stupid.
No, it's weird, right? Because you see the influence of like other series in it, and that's fine. There's no original stories left on the planet. We're always recycling something. But I just realistically, like, if you want to use inspiration from one of those series, don't make it that fucking obvious. Like, it's like the kid copying the homework right in front of the teacher. That's the annoying part to me. Like, it's quite obvious to me what he was going for, to the point where it's like immediately like beat for beat. You can't do that. But at the same time, I understand why he did it.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. It's a cop out. It's the same way of like, utilizing for some menial task, like we were making fun of it earlier, like the AI. Like, I don't want to write my fucking essay for Comp 101. Let me just have an open AI do that for me, and then just submitting that instead of sitting there and fucking actually committing to a story and figuring out a unique way to tell it. Because you can make those interesting. Those recycled series.
The way I would have done the whole Nosal and Noel and the Silver Sisters differently is if we actually saw Nosal being more conflicted about the way Noel is being treated, and maybe saw more more scenes of him staying like a portrait of their mother, just be like, I can't do this. I can't do this with Solid and whatever the sister was called.
I don't fucking remember either. Like, so
Yeah.
many of those characters haven't shown up again that I just don't care to remember their names. If they show
Yeah.
up again, I'll be like, okay, so what was your fucking name, dickhead? But yeah, like it's one of those. It's one of those series where you just shut your brain off at this point and just finish it.
Yeah.
That's how I felt with like Promised Neverland at the end. Is like I'm gonna finish
Fair
it out of
enough.
obligation, but yeah.
Yeah.
Any final ones there, guys?
We're almost 3 hours in, so I think I'm pretty good at this point.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I don't know about Tyler because he's muted.
Yeah, it's like 9 o'clock here, and I'm falling asleep on my mic, so it's time for me to go Betty Buys. I've been up since. Well,
Yeah,
about
and it's time for me to go to bed as well because I've got to be at work.
yeah. I'm going to take Tyler's muted status as like it's time to go Betty Buy for him too. So until next time, everyone, peace.
Peace.